Cheers, successful 2023.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'll talk about whatever. My life's all kinds of crazy.
Hit the bell!
Does you have an Android?
Oh, yeah. Just suck.
Just subscribe already.
You ever try Pickney Bend out of New Haven?
No, I've heard of it.
Oh, man. Amazing.
Yeah?
Great little distillery.
Really?
Yeah, they sell an arrested American whiskey that won a bunch of awards, but it's great. I mean, it's local. It tastes really good. It's got great flavor. I love it.
Sure.
I'm all about local stuff.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
Now, how long you been a bourbon guy though? Whiskey guy. Have you been a guy?
Yeah, sure. Like I have a bar in the basement, the pool table, and all that stuff. So
Cool.
I had it stocked there for a little while. I had a bottle of Blanton's, and then I slowly just diminished as buddies came over. You know, we ran through all the Blantons. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like a whiskey snob or anything, but
Yeah.
I do enjoy it.
I agree. I've been getting more and more into it.
Yeah, sure.
Especially because like beer will bloat you.
I'm not. Yeah, and I like the gym, you know, as well.
Weighs. Yeah, it just
I'm not-
weighs down on you.
I love IPAs, but man, they don't agree with me anymore.
Sure. I can go and have like a IPA. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm going somewhere, I can have like an IPA, but I don't want to sit there and drink it all night.
Well, or like you go on the river, you're not drinking IPAs all day on the river.
No.
No, you
There
can't
ain't
do
no
it.
way.
Yeah,
Even if you're drinking beer is the most convenient.
yeah, sure.
I'm not one to bring like a 44 ounce like styrofoam cup and
Yeah.
mix it. I'm not
No.
really for it. I'm going to drink beer, but I don't know anymore. I feel like mixed drinks. I'm big on tequila and club soda.
Yeah, I love tequila. Yeah, that's
So, have you tried Clases?
Yeah, I have.
like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you tried the clear,
no,
the silver stuff?
no.
If you want to try some of that tonight, you're more welcome
We'll
to.
see how crazy we get.
Okay. Yeah, I know you got to drive.
Yeah, I gotta go home. So
Well, cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming out to the podcast.
thanks for having me.
This is Knob Creek.
Yeah,
Let me check one thing before we get going in here. Okay. I'm just gonna kind of roll with it.
cool.
See, we're just gonna go wherever. But Zach, it's Zack Sida, right?
Sida.
Sida. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
all
glad.
good.
I always got to ask because you just never know.
Yeah,
Zach brought us some bourbon from Knob Creek, which is Knob Creek a local
I know. I don't.
local place.
I'm not
I've heard
gonna
of it
pretend to
before.
know. So I think Kentucky. I don't know.
Okay, but you just got it.
It was a special at Schnucks,
Oh, okay.
and it seemed like the right thing. So
Sure. We're gonna give it a try.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is really good. It looks light.
It's a pre-made old fashioned. You know, it's
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it's
I
a
see.
pre-made old fashioned.
I see. So what's an old fashioned actually supposed to be though?
It's like vermouth. It's got orange. It's got bitters.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because it just tastes pretty good.
yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I like it. So Zach here, he is a pilot. You're a pilot, right?
Correct.
And so Jamie Keene actually reached out to me. Jamie Keene came on the podcast a while back. If you guys are following the podcast, she's third generation entrepreneurial supermom is how I labeled her.
Yep.
But she's got a lot of stuff going on. But she recommended Zach here to come out on the podcast. And yeah, just thought it'd be kind of interesting to have you on.
Sure.
So what made you want to become a pilot? So you're a helicopter pilot though.
Yep, I'm
Not
a-
like you don't fly, never flew an airplane?
I've flown airplanes. I do not have a license to fly airplanes. It's separate, right? Like helicopters and so rotor wing and fixed wing. They're two separate entities. Airplanes are a lot cheaper, a lot more obtainable. Helicopters are a lot more expensive for training and stuff. And then helicopters are like 5% of aviation as a whole. So it's kind of a smaller group to get
Yeah.
into.
That's why I thought they'd be cheaper.
No.
But they're more expensive?
Oh God, yeah, like 3 times as much.
What about the people that get like the solo seat?
Like a little mosquito helicopter.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah, those are experimental category. So you can get a license. You still have to have a license to fly those,
Mm-hmm.
but then you can get into one of those pretty cheap and then fly around at your own risk. We'll put it that way. I don't know that.
So they're dangerous, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean they're not. Some of them, there's some reputable brands out there, but I'm not flying anything I built in my garage. And they send them to you in kits. And they're like, oh, once you finish this part, we'll send you the second part of the kit. And then they inspect it, and then they're like, you're good to go.
Don't a lot of like big farmers get helicopters?
Oh, so I've had a little bit of ag experience, spraying.
Yeah.
I sprayed some trees in Texas with a group of people, and that's hard work. But
What do you mean spraying trees? Like
So-
what do you do there?
the job I went on in Texas was a forestry gig where it was for like a paper company. So these paper companies have like a 30-year rotation on their crops or their trees, if you will. So they'll cut down these trees and use them for paper, whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then you come in and spray like, nuclear Roundup to kill everything. And then they go back and they scrape it and they plant new trees.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
Wow.
those businesses always kind of blew my mind because there's such a big investment.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Like apples, for someone to get into Apple business, you have to plant an apple tree. And it takes 30 years for the damn thing to grow. Or
Yeah.
like 25 or something.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an investment.
paper, you're 30 years. You're looking at a 30-year return.
But they must have like sections.
Oh,
They do like a chunk section.
Yep. It's unbelievable.
How much land does someone like that have?
I mean, it's Texas, so it's a lot, but
Massive.
yeah, I mean, and they do it up here too. They'll spray soybean. There's ag helicopters all around over here.
Yeah.
I'm not really. I just worked for a guy like as a way to get into the industry. I couldn't get a job. There just weren't any jobs, so I took a job like driving a truck and pumping chemical and doing whatever I could to be around the aircraft.
Oh, okay. So you worked, because you were kind of saying that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't like you just went and got your pilot's
No,
license
okay, so
and
let me
just
back
jumped
up.
right
What
into
got
it.
me
Yeah,
into
let's hear
flying?
this.
I was going to go to school for sound technician. I love audio stuff. Like I had an uncle in the country music business.
Well, you're real natural with the mic, too.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Usually people have them like way out here.
No,
and I'm
I-
like, hey, bring it in. talk
Yeah,
into the
no,
mic.
my dad has a music studio, and I'm
Cool.
I'm a musician and stuff like that. So I was going to go to school in Florida, Full Sail University. It was for audio engineering. I was going to go, do this, and my buddies and I was 16, and they were giving rides at the county fair for $25 a person, and
What kind of rides?
helicopter rides.
Okay.
Out of the golf course, and we're like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So the guy said, hey, if you wait and let all these people go in front of you, you got we had 3 of us. They go, we'll let you guys go get fuel. Everybody else was getting like a 3-minute ride, just up and around the golf course and right back, $25. We waited until they
How old
needed
are you at this
fuel.
time?
I was 16.
Okay.
So we waited and got in, and we got to fly across the river, land at the airport, get fuel. And then this kid, that's the whole thing, is I was 16. The pilot was like 19. And I never thought,
Someone that
it had
young.
never even registered to me. I was like, dude, this guy's not much older than me, and he's flying freaking helicopter tours.
Right.
And it just sparked my interest, and we started looking at schools. Turns out there was one right down the road in Chesterfield. And I took an intro flight.
Can you acquire a license that fast? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But is it like, how long does it take to acquire? Now, it differs for helicopter and.
Sure. I think it's rather 40 or 60. It's been so long since I've looked at the regulations. I'm going to say 60 to be conservative. I think you need a minimum of 60 hours in the aircraft to obtain a private pilot's license. And you can get that at 18.
Okay.
Or I think probably 16. Again.
You don't have to go to school.
Well, yeah, you do. So that's what you do. So what I did is I went down to the school and I took an intro ride where
Is this 18 or 16?
this is, I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
I was still I remember, I'll get to that, but
Okay.
So I was still a senior in high school. So I was probably 17, 18. I went and took a flight, and you pay, they give you a discounted rate to go fly for an hour. And you go up with an instructor and they put the controls in your hands, and all of a sudden you're flying a helicopter and you're like, this is amazing. And I fell in love with it immediately. So done with music school, don't care about that anymore. I want to go fly helicopters. So that's
Wait, you went to.
No, I was like, I'm
don't
not
care
even
about it
entertaining that
anymore. I
idea
gotcha.
anymore. Like, I want to go be a
Yeah,
pilot.
screw music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. I'll do that on the side, and I just wanted to be a pilot. So at the time, there was this big school that ended up being a pyramid scheme called Silver State Helicopters, and it was like they wanted all your money up front, like $70,000 up front, and it looked great on paper, but it closed overnight. I found that out later down the road. I ended up
How'd you find it?
online. At the time, they had this scheme going, the pyramid scheme. They had freaking commercials on TV and on the radio about how all these Vietnam pilots are retiring. There's going to be a huge shortage in the industry, and you could be a helicopter pilot. And you're like, all right, sounds legit.
Yeah, sounds
So-
fun. It really does sound fun.
Dude, I went to a seminar at the airport where they were bussing people in Greyhounds. And this is, truck drivers and, cooks and every walk of life was like, I could go be a helicopter pilot. And they had a hell of a sales pitch. I ended up going to another school, and then that school, Silver State, folded up overnight. Like the guy took everybody's money. It was a huge scam. And so I dodged that bullet, right?
I don't know how people get away with that crap.
I dodged that bullet, and I ended up going to this school. It was called Midwest Helicopter. It was at the time, Spirit of St. Louis. So not far from home, drove down there, did all my hours, got my private pilot's license, which is your first step. And then you have to build a lot of flight time in order to get your next step. Instrument, commercial, flight instructor. There's all these licenses you obtain along the way. And that's how it all started. I just went and took a ride and fell in love with it, and we were off to the races.
Yeah, so when you say a private
Yep.
helicopter's license, that's the first one you obtain.
Sure.
How does that work out? Like, what's that?
So when you get a private, that means you now have a license to fly, not only by yourself, but to take passengers, right? So now and I did that a lot. Like, once you get that license, you can fly with people. You cannot be paid to fly yet. You have to have a commercial license for that, which is like another milestone. You have to build so many hours to hit that. And then all along you're training, you're sharpening your skills. So when you take what they call a check ride with an examiner, they go out and they put you through their paces. You got to do this maneuver and that maneuver. And if you...
How do you get the hours, though?
So
you can't get paid.
You go training. You go. You're
okay.
The whole time you're in school.
I see.
Yeah, you're like in a curriculum. So you're going to training, and while you're training, you're flying an hour a day, maybe an hour and a half a day. You're building flight time, and when you hit that milestone, hopefully you're proficient enough in all the training to pass that check ride. So you go get an examiner, and they set it all up at school, and if you pass, cool, you got a license. If not, no.
So your first after it's private, then commercial?
Yeah, I don't remember if I did instrument and then commercial, but that's how it goes. You're building time all along. So once you get that private, now you can fly with passengers, but you can't be paid. So what I did is I would get buddies, and like every weekend, my buddy, like I'd bring a different buddy. We'd rent a little 2-seat helicopter and go bang around for 2 hours.
Because you need to build up hours.
Got to build the time.
So is there a electronic log or something?
Not then. This was 2007, so it was all pen and paper. This is before iPhones and all that stuff. So it was a little it's way easier now.
But they have a logging.
Sure. Yeah, you got a logbook.
You had to go to the same place.
Yeah, I would go to the school.
They keep the logbook. You don't keep
I had my own logbook that I'd fill out, and then if we were doing training, your instructor would sign off on it, right? So it's all kept.
But if you're not doing the stuff with the buddies on the side, why didn't you just put an extra hour or something in?
You could, and
saying.
people have, but it's very dishonest to do that. Yeah. And then what happens is when you fake your hours, and then you have to step into the real world, you have no idea what you're doing because you faked it.
And that's
that time's valuable. Well, sure, they call it pencil whipping. If you pencil whip your logbook, it's very frowned upon. People will not respect you for it because you got to earn those hours, right? And you really do need the experience because it is not. Now that I'm probably a 4,000 hour helicopter guy now, it's a lot of hours.
How long you been flying now?
Almost 16 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, since high school.
Whoa, dude.
I'm 34.
Yeah.
So I've been at it since I was 17, 18. But you need that experience. So you go out and fly with your buddies. And
if I'm getting in a helicopter or playing with someone,
you don't want the guy that wrote in his logbook. You don't want that guy.
Dude, if I was at the county fair and I was getting in with a 19-year-old, I'd be like, yeah.
Sure.
Well, I'm not a fan of heights either. So
Me
it's
neither.
Really?
Yeah, me neither.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I don't like heights, but being a helicopter pilot does sound kind of cool.
Oh, it's awesome. I love what I do.
It sounds like something I would want to do.
Love what I do.
Thrilling. It's probably... Does it get boring, though?
Yeah. I mean, it does. It has its parts.
It's like any job.
It's like any job,
When you're doing something for 8 to 12 hours a day, it's going to get boring.
Yep. And I've done a lot of different flying, and currently in EMS, it's a game of hurry up and wait. You just sit around and wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And right now we're busy. We call it trauma season because... everybody's out doing dumb stuff. It's summertime, dirt bikes and side-by-sides and boats and
rivers,
float trips and jumping off cliffs. And it's trauma season. We have been busy.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. How's that for you? It's just stay calm. You know how to probably stay very calm in crazy situations because everyone's freaking. Well, I guess not everybody. The people that are going through it are probably freaking out. But for you, you're not actually loading people up, are you?
I do help. I'm not medically trained in any fashion whatsoever.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I've got a flight nurse and a medic, and they may be two 110-pound girls trying to load a 400-pound dude onto a sled.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I will get out and help. And,
Sure.
this past weekend we had 2 really wild back-to-back traumas where they just had their hands full, and I had to get out and come like hold monitors. And at one point I was squeezing a bag, breathing for somebody. And so even though I'm not medically trained, they're like, hey, come help.
Yeah.
You gotta
How
get
long you been
involved.
doing the EMS stuff then?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're pretty, just because like you pull up on a scene sometimes. I'm sure it's probably pretty wild.
Scene calls are wild, and that's kind of like me. That's my bread and butter. I love scene calls, and that's kind of taken out of context, huh?
Is it the thrill of it?
Yeah,
or-
yeah. And so there's 2 types in the EMS world. There's 2 types of flights that we do. We do interfacility, which is hospital to hospital. You're at some little podunk.
Like Washington to
Washington's, but yeah, exactly. Or like Salem, Missouri, which, there's not a lot in Salem. They can only do so much at that facility. So if you come in with your...
I didn't even know they had a hospital.
Right. So if you come in with your arm hanging off, they can't do much about it.
Yeah.
So they're going to call us to transport you to a trauma center or a stroke or a cardiac center. So we do a lot of those.
You do a lot of like, I would imagine like babies that are having a lot of issues.
Not as many. We do. Lately, RSV's been a thing, which is a respiratory thing. I picked up a couple kids for RSV.
Is that because doesn't a hospital have their own helicopter pilot too? Or no?
Some do, some don't. Some have
Big ones.
some like Vanderbilt and stuff like that. They have their own programs, but most of the time it's a third party. It's a
Like Big St. John's, they have their own.
nope.
Really?
Nope. That's where we take her. And so Big St. John's is Mercy now, right? It's Mercy Creve Corps.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've only been a couple times.
Sure.
Try to stay out of the place.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Fortunately, I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah. Well, I've only been on the one side. Not good.
So that's one of the main trauma centers in St. Louis. But the scene calls. So there's 2 types. There's the interfacilities. We're picking you up from a lesser facility, taking you to somewhere that is appropriate. And then there's scene calls, which is what we all get excited for. Which again, taken out of context, is weird because it's like the worst day of your life. But I'm jazzed up to come get you.
Yeah.
I love it because that's when we get to land on highways. We get to land on overpasses, bridges, rooftops, backyards. I mean,
Yeah, but it's not like you're happy to see them people
No.
in suffering. But there's I don't know, what is it?
what I'm happy about is that I love what I do, and I get to go stick a $4 million aircraft somewhere it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Have you landed smack dab in the middle of like an interstate?
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of an interstate?
Yeah, it's actually not
Shut
as
it down?
for sure. Yeah, it's not as fun as it sounds because it's like landing on a runway. Like there's not much of a challenge to it. Where
Yeah, but I mean, how often is there a helicopter sit on the middle of the interstate?
sure, it's great to rubberneck and look at.
Yeah.
I like.
There's not a lot of people in this world that are gonna get to do a lot of the things that you've got to do.
I have had a very unique perspective on not only a career, but just I get to see flying over downtown St. Louis at 3 a.m. and the lights are so bright we have to flip our night vision goggles up, and you fly
That's insane.
over Busch Stadium, and for some reason it's lit up. I don't know why, if it's always lit up, but you fly right down Highway 64 and Busch Stadium's underneath you, and the Ferris wheel and the arch, and so we see some.
How
wild
high
stuff.
off of things like that are you? Like how high does a helicopter fly? Because I hear them all the time over my house.
Yeah, we
You don't
usually
hear a plane. You hear a helicopter though.
we live kind of between 500 and 1,000 feet. The company I work for prefers us at 1,000. We can be as low as 300 legally flying around, but I like flying low. If I wanted to fly high, I'd be an airplane guy. I've spent most of my career down low, and
What's the why? Why low?
I don't like heights. I told you, I get above 3,000 feet, and I'm like, ugh, I'm uncomfortable up here. I just don't care for it.
So it can go. So you're at like 3. You like 3 to 500.
I like if I could live around 500 feet all day long, that's where I would fly.
Okay.
I like low level stuff. I mean, that's what helicopters are made for.
Yeah. So like, is a one story considered like 10 foot? How many stories off the ground are you?
Oh, so
You're flying over St. Louis. How
there's-
high are you then?
Okay, so there's 2 types of altitude that we track as pilots. There's MSL, which is what your altimeter says, which would be sea level, right? So like right now we're sitting at like 500 foot sea level.
Okay.
Just this area in general.
Sure.
We're not very high. We're like Colorado's 6,800 feet above sea level.
Right.
So MSL and AGL, above ground level. So above ground level, meaning literally between us and the ground, we usually fly about 1,000 feet. Okay, 500 to 1,000. That's where I like to live. And then sometimes you get wild situations where you're like, hey, we got to get this guy to St. Louis. If I climb to 3,000, we've got a 30-knot tailwind. We're going to get there a lot faster.
But like, what's the tallest? Like when you're flying through St. Louis, like the skyscrapers.
So the arch sits at like 630 feet, just for perspective.
So you're 400 feet above it.
I'm usually below it.
You're below it?
So yeah, I mean, when you get into the metropolitan area like that, I like to get down low. I'll stay around 500 feet because you've got tour helicopters, you got the police helicopters, you got other EMS birds, you've got Lambert sitting right there launching airplanes out.
Yeah.
So I like to just get down low and stay the hell out of everybody's way.
Sure. I'm sure like safety wise,
it's just when you get down low, you're dealing with more towers and stuff like that, buildings obviously, but you're just kind of out of the way of the general flow of traffic, and that's the beauty of helicopters.
But is there no like when you're flying and stuff, you're not like saying like, hey, I'm on this channel. You are? Like,
sure.
Because you got it for collision reasons, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so we have the
really.
No, for sure. The aircraft that I fly is.
But how do you choose the channel? Like,
so
how do they know?
There's common channels. There's helicopter air to air, so everybody knows that's our channel. And then when you go into an airport, you can look that up. You can look it up and say.
I'm talking like, so you guys don't collide.
Oh well, that is what we refer to as the big sky theory, right? People are like, it's a big sky. We'll never run into anybody. Well, you will, because we all fly at the same altitude. We all at some point have intersecting paths. Yeah, so
my luck, I'd freaking smoke the first guy on my first flight.
Things have changed a lot in the last 10 years where, like I told you, when I started flying, I was flying around 17-year-old kid at night with a paper chart and a flashlight with a red lens, flying with one hand, trying to be like, I think that's the water tower I'm going to.
That's crazy.
It's crazy to think about now, because now I fly around in this insane aircraft that like is so easy, and so it's wild to look back and think about that flying around.
Like now you have like a radar or something that shows you stuff at night.
Dude, I have a glass cockpit. So I fly a Bell 407 GX, which is about a $4 million aircraft.
Insane.
And it's got what we call full glass cockpit. So instead of having 10, 15 gauges, it's just 2 computer screens. And we've got autopilot. We've got military-grade night vision goggles. We got spotlights, all of it.
Sweet.
It's a flying ICU as well. As far as from medical standpoint, we have blood, plasma, oxygen, ventilators. So when you're doing it, because like you said, you got spotlights and stuff on it. You're not working for the cops, are you? No, but I like to spotlight people and pretend we are. No. So to answer your question, how do you not run into each other? Yeah. Fortunately, we have ADS-B, which every aircraft has a transponder, right? Those transponders will put out a signal. It'll tell you what your altitude is.
I'm going to have another one.
Cool. Okay, help yourself. Where you are and all that stuff. So on my screen, it'll not only show me on my map that there's another aircraft, and it'll tell me how high or low they are above me and kind of show where they're going. But if we get close enough, it'll be like 1 o'clock, low, 1 mile, and it'll show it on my screen, a little dot, like there's an aircraft. So you can look out and be like, okay, there he is, got him.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, how do you not?
And just
I figured there was something like that, but I had to ask.
And a fair amount of just looking outside, kind of paying attention and
right.
Keeping your head on a swivel. And when you're going into these trauma centers, like Barnes in particular, Barnes in St. Louis, one of the most popular trauma centers in that area, they only have 1 helipad. Which is, it gets pretty hairy on a busy day, because you may land to drop somebody off, and there's someone else just stacked up behind you ready to come in and drop off. And then you got to go back and get your crew at some point. So all day long, we're just leapfrogging helicopters into these hospitals.
So you're helping them get everyone off.
I'm like, get out, get your people, and then I get off, and I'll usually go downtown and get fuel and wait, and they'll call and say, hey, we're ready.
Where do you get fuel at?
I'd rather go to the airport. We have a downtown base that we just go land at and pump fuel. So
cool. Is that like... Yeah, how's that work? I didn't know that existed. It's not the airport?
We can go to the airport, but we do right there, fortunately for us, for the company I work for, we have a maintenance facility downtown across the street from Union Station. So we just...
So you don't work for Sullivan?
So I work for Air Methods, which is one of the largest EMS operators in the country, and specifically Arch, which the Arch program is under the Air Methods umbrella. So people don't know they're the same company, but they are. So in Sullivan, Arch 6 is what I fly. It's our call sign.
Okay. See, that's what I was wondering. So Sullivan really, they renting it, or how does that work out? Like when these towns have helicopters.
Yeah.
Like they don't own the helicopter.
No, that's made at a corporate level. I don't know why they put helicopters where they do. They obviously do some sort of analytic and figure out where is the best place to put one.
Sure.
But the I-44 corridor in Missouri is so heavily saturated with EMS helicopters. It's like there's one every freaking 20 miles. So there's a lot of competition.
Yeah, but you're probably covering a lot of ground too.
We do. They're in Sullivan, being in the middle of the state. If Rolla, which is Phelps Air, if they go down, we're covering all of their territory because we're their sister base.
Yeah.
If Farmington, if their aircraft is out of service, we're covering everything from here to freaking Cape Girardeau.
Dang, you come over this way too?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just Saturday night. I was here. I did 2 out of the Gerald area.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean you're my stomping grounds. We land in the park here in Rosebud quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the baseball.
Yeah, I don't
field?
know if I just gave away your secret location.
No. Most of the time I'm tagging my
Okay,
TikToks
all right, yeah,
at
cool.
Rosebud. Yeah.
Yeah, we land in the park there like all the time.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It makes sense. I mean, it's not very far at all. Like
It's
as a crow flies.
10 minutes.
Yeah. How many miles do you think as a crow flies from here to Sullivan?
20,
miles?
maybe a little. Yeah, probably like 20 right in there. You can usually take the mileage with the speed that we fly. You can take the mileage and cut it in half, and that's your minutes. So if it's 20 miles, we'll usually be there in 10 minutes.
Cool.
And we cruise everywhere we go, about 120, 130 knots, which is 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, and I'm telling you, that aircraft we fly is a sports car.
I bet.
It's amazing.
You ever just rent one for the weekend and fly out somewhere?
Yeah, I've taken girls on dates in helicopters.
Dude, what a flex,
They're
man.
expensive dates. Yeah,
Some Riz right there.
Not so much lately, but back in the day.
Younger. Sure. Because we just went to Gatlinburg.
Cool.
So Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's like a 9-hour drive, so it's not bad. Like it's not that bad. But on the way back, when you're 6.5, 7 hours in, you're like, it's freaking getting old. I just want to be home. We were talking about it. We're like, it'd be cool to have a helicopter just zoom. How fast do you think you can get down there?
4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So it knocks about half the time.
depending on what you're flying, I've flown cross country, like literally coast to coast, and you could get to Tennessee in probably 4 or 5 hours. Gatlinburg.
You've gone coast to coast.
Oh yeah, I've done so
How
many
long did that
jobs.
take?
Well, not specifically coast to coast, but like I've flown so much cross country doing different jobs that I have ferried aircraft all over the country.
Sure.
I mean, so
Yeah, you said you've done quite a few different things. You've been doing this for 6 years?
yep. So I've
For
been
the
a pilot
EMS?
for like 16. I've been doing EMS for like the last 6. Before this, I was offshore in the Gulf of Mexico to the oil rigs. That was wild.
Yeah, I bet so.
So that's like water world. I mean, it's unbelievable. You're flying, people and parts. You're basically a UPS guy in a helicopter. You're delivering groceries. You're doing hurricane evacuation.
Was that your least favorite, you think? It sounds easy, but the easy stuff is never that great.
It wasn't easy. It actually was. It was kind of scary sometimes because out there you're flying. So the same aircraft I'm flying now, but no autopilot, no air conditioning. They're stripped out. They're
Why?
just
The oil rig owns it?
no. It's a third party operator, and then the oil rigs will contract out. There's all these companies, and this oil company will say, "Well, you're our people, and you're flying us to these rigs," and blah blah blah. But it was a cool job, and I built a lot of time there. It was like my first real like big boy job in the industry. Turbine engine helicopter, all that stuff.
So you living in Florida at the time?
I'm living in Gulf Shores. So
Okay.
maybe I should go through the timeline
Yeah.
of like how it worked,
Or we
right?
can keep bouncing back. It don't matter.
It don't matter. I just don't want to. I don't want it to get all confused there. So when I lived in, I was living here, and I was working for a company. This company, actually, this is an OG shirt, so I wore it. This thing's been around. They had me doing power line inspections and LiDAR. You know what LiDAR is?
I've heard of it, but I don't know.
LiDAR is where you paint the ground with a laser, and it bounces back to a receiver, and it creates a 3D image of whatever you're flying over, right?
Is LiDAR how they're discovering all these cities?
Yes, in the Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
How cool.
How cool.
That's
So
cool.
I did that, only we did it for power line companies where we go fly over the lines, and they could measure the sag in the line. They could measure where water was laying, all that stuff. So we'd get on a set of power lines and just follow them for hundreds of miles. That was like my first real gig as a paid pilot.
Yeah. Was it local or was it?
No, it was the company. I was out of Georgia, and they would just fly me in and out. Like me and
How you finding these jobs? That's the interesting thing. You just online, just
sure. I mean,
surfing the web.
when I was a young man, I went all over, man, handing out resumes and shaking hands and trying to get hired.
And you're saying all over. You mean you're down in Georgia?
Oh yeah, I mean,
you went
and I met that guy in Texas. Like it's a small industry.
How you end up here at these places though?
So
you're not driving to Texas for a resume.
when I came out of flight school as a flight instructor, as a double flight instructor, it was a terrible time in the industry. I talked about Silver State helicopters collapsing, which flooded the market with like 300-hour pilots, which is about what you have when you come out of school.
Was this like 07, 08?
Yes.
Okay.
So Silver State,
Same time as the housing market crash.
bingo. So the economy crashed and Silver State crashed, the economy was not great, and the helicopter industry was just doing terrible. And then Silver State collapsed and flooded the market with all these low-time, fairly inexperienced pilots. So for every entry level, and I'm talking basic entry level job out there were 4 or 5 people lined up to get that job. So were oversaturated with pilots. There weren't enough jobs. And I spent 3 years working construction, like watching helicopters fly over.
Okay. So this is when you were saying you were doing
Yep. And so I got
a hammer and everything.
I got a call from a friend who owned a helicopter, and he's like, I'm going to Texas to spray trees, and you want to come along? It's going to be like 12 days. I said, okay, I'm on board. So went down there, and I knew I was driving a truck, pumping chemical, but I thought I'd get a little bit of flight time out of it. So that's the whole.
That's what you got to do.
Dangling a carrot in front of me, and I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm on board. So 12 days turned into 52 days in Texas. It was like the job from hell. But the guy who hired my friend, and my friend hired me, would sit at the edge of the job site in his truck and watch me work. And he knew I was a pilot, but I wasn't the pilot on the job. I wasn't the guy flying. I was just the guy pumping chemical, driving the truck, mixing stuff.
Order.
Yeah, I was exactly.
Yeah.
So, but the cool thing is that guy got to sit there and watch me work. And I had breakfast with him one morning, and I was like, dude, I'll do anything to fly one of your aircraft. Like, just consider me if you ever have a position.
I want to be in a helicopter.
Yep, and that's why I'm here. I told him, and after that job, I went home.
Can I pause you there?
Yeah.
I think that's like really important. Like out of this podcast, like the people that are listening, like if you're trying to get into anything in like whatever career you're trying to go to, or whatever business you're trying to go into, or whatever you're trying to do with your life, if you don't have a connection, you don't have to have an immediate connection. You just have to find a way to expose yourself to the environment.
Yep.
And make yourself, like, make it a point that you want that position. You want in that field or that career or whatever. Because a lot of people go and they're like, I went down there and they didn't offer me a job, so I just came home. And it's like, I got to turn off the mic. But it's like, you got to go and you got to just try everything you can.
I was hungry for it.
You got to be hungry, and you got to just like be willing to be like, hey, I want that position. I want that job. And you got to take a lower step grade job or whatever just to put yourself around it, because that's what it takes a lot of time.
For lack of a better term, I was their bitch. Pumping chemical and driving a truck. And it was
how many people wouldn't take that freaking job because they're like, no, I want to be a pilot, not the guy that's working on the truck.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times it's like, just go get yourself exposed to it.
Being around the aircraft was enough to like, at least this is a start. Like, there's a running aircraft on top of a truck that I'm driving. That's maybe one day I'll transition into being up there, but now I'm down here kind of thing.
If a position opens up, I'll be here.
That job ended. 3 weeks later, I'm at home, back to construction, and the guy who was sitting in his truck watching me work called and offered me a job. Cool. And he's like, I need a pilot in South Carolina yesterday. I said, book the ticket, and that was it, off to the races. So, and then I worked for that guy for 5 years. It was a great company. It was this company here, and he
How many years? 5?
Yeah, like 5.
Dang.
And then even when I left him to go to the Gulf of Mexico and fly out the oil rigs, I left on good terms. So I would call him, and if I had family in town, I'd be like, hey, can I get the helicopter for an hour? And he's like, yeah, put gas in it and it's yours. So I'd go fly my friends and family around.
How do you put gas in it?
It just depends on which one it is. Like the one there was avgas, which is basically gasoline with lead in it. Now I fly a jet engine helicopter, so we use Jet A, which is basically refined kerosene. So
But like, where's like these gas stations?
airports.
Just go to airports.
Yeah, Sullivan has a self-serve. You swipe your credit card and fill it up.
See, that's like so foreign to me.
Yeah,
To
sure.
think that you could fly in.
Most people don't know anything about aviation.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just go to an airport, and it says that like when you're looking up on your maps and your charts, and if you get online and look up an airport, it'll tell you what kind of fuel they have, what price it is. So you plan that out. You do all that in your pre-flight.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's money. I guess there is some money in that. Like they gotta have someone there take money and stuff, or is it
It's a self-serve. It's just like rolling up to a gas station.
So when you when you fly into this airport, you can just fly in. You know where the pump's at.
I mean,
that
you
work?
figure it out. There's one spot usually. If it's a big airport, like let's say you're going into Spirit, they're called FBOs, fixed base operators. You can choose. You want to go to Millionaire, you want to go to Jet Corp, and you're going to land, and they're going to bring you a fuel truck, and then you go inside and eat their cookies or get coffee or whatever. And
They got someone working there though.
yeah, but not all of them. Like Sullivan, there's no one there. You just land and get out and swipe your credit card. And
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like Cuba. I think
Cuba.
Bell has one. You ever been out towards Bell?
Oh yeah, we've done. Well, I used to work in Rolla, so Bell was. Yeah, we did scene flights
Right there.
Yeah,
You know the one I'm talking about at, I think it's,
Bell, I don't think has an airport.
well, it's at 28 and 63.
Yeah.
It's way out there.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Maybe it is Rolla. Maybe it's considered Rolla Airport.
Oh yeah, so that's Vichy.
Vichy.
Yeah, Rolla Vichy Airport. Yeah, there's fuel, and they have a fuel truck where you just land, and there's from whatever 9 to 5, if you will. There's someone that works there that works for the city, and you land, and they come fuel you up. And if not, if it's after hours, you can call them. And like Lebanon, we would go to all the time because we would fly to Springfield, and then on the way back we need fuel. So, but sometimes that's 2 a.m. So you just got to call a guy, and a guy comes out, and you wake him up, and he comes out, and he gets $100 for getting woken up. It's like a bonus for coming out and fueling you, and you're kind of at their mercy sometimes. But you
They
usually,
live local.
yeah, it's a local guy.
So you're calling them up. You're waking them in a mid-sleep.
I call my dispatch and I say, hey,
They're doing
I'm going to Lebanon Airport. I'm gonna be there in 30 minutes. I need someone for fuel, and they'll call and wake the guy up. And
Gotcha.
yeah, and then I just show up, and usually there's a guy there, and he fuels us up. And
Now your dispatch is totally different than like 911 dispatch.
Yep.
Totally different.
totally different.
There's a special company just for that.
Yeah. So let's say you roll up on an accident. You call 911. They're gonna call the first responders. The first responders are gonna show up and say, we need a helicopter. Then they call my dispatch. My dispatch calls me, and out we go. And then
Your dispatch works for your company.
yes,
Which is called what again?
Air Methods.
Air Methods. Okay. So they have like their own dispatch company
Sure.
and everything like that.
Yeah, so in our aircraft too, we have all the fire radios and FM for getting I can talk to my dispatch, I can talk to the ground, fire control, all that stuff. So
So like on a normal night, you just like how long is a shift?
12 hours.
12-hour shift.
I work 7 12-hour shifts, so it's 84 hours a week, 7 on, 7 off. It's a love-hate schedule, but that's the thing about being a pilot. You never have a normal schedule.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tough to navigate if you want to do anything socially. Like if you wanted to, I couldn't join a bowling league if I wanted to because I'm only there half the time.
Yeah.
Right? I only get 2 free weekends.
Like what's your 12-hour shift look like on a normal week?
6:30 to 6:30, Monday to Monday. So I'll roll up about 6:15. I go out and pre-flight the aircraft, make sure everything's good, and I don't see anything broken or leaks, or make sure we got fuel, make sure we got oxygen, ready to take a flight when the bell rings at 6:30. And then you sign in and you sit around and wait, and you watch YouTube, and you do online education, and we've got a gym in the hangar. It's like a firehouse. You just sit around, and if the phone doesn't ring, it's a
You're out
boring
in
day.
Sullivan
Yeah.
by yourself.
No, it's myself and a flight nurse and a medic. There's always 3 of us.
Is it at the EMS or where is it at?
We're at the airport. We have a
okay.
double wide trailer on the side of the runway.
Wow.
So it's
Fancy.
not, yeah, it's not glamorous. That comes with the territory too. Yeah. Back to working in the Gulf of Mexico. The reason I didn't jive with that is I was living in Alabama because I ran a tour company. So we're backing up even further. Ran a tour company in Alabama. When I left that,
Flying helicopters?
Yep, flying tours up and down the beach. Cool. Happy people, doors off, 300 feet, sunshine.
Sure.
Amazing. I miss it.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that your best job, you think?
It was where I cut my teeth as a pilot. And
What's that mean?
I mean, really came into my own. Like you're taking off and landing every freaking 7 minutes and you're just working that aircraft. And that's the difference between coming out of flight school and thinking I've got all these licenses. You're not. You don't know anything yet. You got to go put one to work.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter how much you read a book or how many times you watch a stupid video. Until you go out and do it, you'll never know.
You got to go put one to work. And when you're flying
That's with
much,
anything.
it's seat time.
Yeah.
When you're flying that much, you just become one with that thing, and you really start to hone your skills. And flying tours is fun because it's always happy people and stuff like that. And but you know,
what's the money like compared to
terrible tour? Yeah, you're an entry level guy.
Yeah.
You know, you're low man on the totem pole.
Who's
When
got
you're
the helicopter though?
Well, the owners of this company did. So when I was working flying LiDAR and stuff, they wanted to transition out of some of the utility work. And they're like, they were from Alabama. And they're like, we want to open a tour company in Gulf Shores. You want to do it? And I said, hell yeah. Like within 1 week, I rented an apartment and a van and loaded my shit and I was gone. Like I'm moving to Gulf Shores. I'm going to go fly tours. And I did.
Yeah. How long did you do that?
4 years and some change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I've gone Gulf Shores too many times.
Yeah.
And it's the closest beach.
Sure.
To us.
Yep.
You know, so it's
straight line, closest beach.
Yeah, and I don't mind the drive at all. It's 12 hours, but I don't mind the drive at all. Like it goes pretty quick. And I was just like, I always wondered what it was like to live in a tourist town like that. Is it boring?
Yes.
It's not.
It's exciting at first.
Yeah.
And then you realize once you do all the touristy stuff,
yeah,
you're like, okay, we don't need to go to the water park ever again.
Yeah. Right.
And I've eaten at the hangout and
yeah,
all that stuff. Then it becomes like, you know, there's not much to do.
And there's probably not a lot of like, especially like, how old were you?
23.
Prime.
Yeah, young guy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm moving to the beach.
Yeah. But there's probably not a lot of like people that live there.
Permanent residents in the off season is like 5,000 people.
Right. It's actually a small town.
It's a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the best kept secret is kind of like October going to Gulf Shores. It's still 80 degrees. The water's still warm. There's nobody there.
I went there in November.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan.
No?
It was, I liked it because it was slow, but I wanted to get in the water. So, you know, everybody around here goes to the beach in the middle of summertime. I also got your water if you need water.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
But everybody goes to the beach in the middle of the summer, and it's like, there's plenty of stuff to do in the summer around here. So I decided I'm going to go to the beach in the wintertime because the winters here in Missouri are stupid long.
Yeah.
They're depressing. Brutal. Like, yeah, they're brutal. And I just need some sun in my life. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to start going to the beach. The first year I went to Gulf Shores. Actually, I think I went in November because my uncle got married. So, or my cousin, not my uncle. My cousin got married, so we went down. They actually got married in Mobile, but it's Gulf Shores right there, like 40 minutes away. So I went there and just hung out for the week, and I was like, it wasn't it. But I went back the next year thinking, I think I went back next year in December, and it was just too cold to get in the water.
Even worse.
And so now I decided, I'm like, screw it. And I do like the fact that there's not a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to go down, do all the touristy stuff, but not deal with the crowds.
Yeah. It's
now I go to as far down as I can go.
Traffic and, you know, you're dealing with that. I lived 10 minutes from the beach, and sometimes that was an hour.
Yeah.
You know, you could have got there faster on a bicycle than in traffic. Like, that gets old and living in a touristy town like that. But flying tours was fun, you know. Like I said, you got happy people, and you don't really...
Sure, in the summer, you're
slammed.
Yeah.
But you don't deal... You get your Karens that, like, if you have to cancel or for this reason or that reason, they're upset, and you got to kind of talk them down and give them a deal or whatever, you know. But for the most part, everybody's super happy. They can't wait to get in a helicopter. They're nervous. They're scared.
Was it degrading, though, almost?
No.
No,
I loved it. And I like talking to people. So it was, that's what, but after 4 years of telling your life story every 5 minutes on repeat, you're like, I can't do it anymore. Sure. And then if you're having a bad day,
you're like, here, watch this video.
See, and a lot of the big operators do that. Like if you go to Vegas, they'll have like a pre-recorded thing you listen to in your headset, and the pilot doesn't really talk to you. Sure. I was small time. I had a 18-foot box trailer, an iPad, a ground person, and one helicopter, and we just hustled all day long. I mean, so you know, it's different, and I like talking to people. So naturally I became like a real life tour guide. I'm pointing out, telling historical facts and rattling stuff off that I never thought I would.
It probably helps you get tips too.
Sure. And Yeah, I did.
Part of the job.
I didn't. People don't think to tip their pilot. And then like 2 years in, I figured out to put a box at their feet that said pilots love tips. And overnight, doubled. So
When I went to Naples, Florida. You ever been there?
no.
I went to Naples, Florida, which is just like, it's, so Miami's the East Coast. It's far down, basically, other than the Keys.
Yeah.
Miami's that straight across from it. It's Naples, Florida. And then they have like the Everglades down there. And we went and did like an Everglade tour, like on one of those boats. And there's a guy did this. He was doing the jet, or the, what's it called? The big fan on the back of the
Swamp boat.
Swamp boat, yeah.
Airboat.
He's doing the same thing. He claimed he made pretty good money, like with tips and everything.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
was
that's
just like, I don't know. Seems like it'd be a hard way to do it, but I watched a couple guys throw a couple $20 bills in. I think I threw a $20 bill in too.
yeah. Well, you'd bait it in the morning. You'd put your own 20 in there. So it was like, that's the standard.
Sure.
And people are like, I don't know how much to tip. Well, there's a 20 right there. So.
Yeah.
No,
that's a good idea.
it was great, and it was a lot of fun, and that segued into so many other opportunities for me doing that tour gig, because there was no other helicopters around, like literally none. So the first people that we really started working with in collaboration, we're just this little tour company, one helicopter. I was the only pilot for 2 years, so if I didn't show up to work, it was like people didn't fly. So it was rough. And there was not a lot of time. We ended up resenting the place because you sat across the street from the beach all day long and you never got to go there and hang out. And you're like, it's so close but so far away because you're working. And then then the only days you get off are days it was raining or the weather was terrible, or like you had to have a reason why you weren't flying.
So you're just grinding this whole time.
But I knew I had to, right? That was the whole part
What
of
was
the
the bigger
point
picture?
of it.
Like what were you saying?
EMS. I always wanted to fly EMS, and I think most helicopter guys put EMS on a pedestal. It's the top of the box, right?
Why though?
It just seems prestige. Like it seems so, I don't know, special when you're starting. And you look at those guys. At least I did. And you look at those pilots and that job as like true professionals, right? I think that's why you put it on a pedestal. And I remember being 18 years old, going through flight school, and being at, do you know where Steinberg's is? In Forest Park? Okay, so like Children's Hospital and Barnes Hospital are right here, and there's a road in front of it. Across that road is Steinberg's. It's an ice skating rink.
Okay.
And I was 18 years old. I'm in flight school. I took a girl down there on a date, and we're ice skating, and I was just mesmerized at these helicopters coming and going from Children's and Barnes, landed on the rooftop across the street from me. And it was one of those things you're like, that's what I want to do. That's that's the end goal right there. But there's a whole lot of flight time and shit you have to do between where I was and that job up there. And it took 10 years. So 10 years later, I land at Barnes for the first time in my EMS helicopter with my crew and a patient. And they go inside and drop the patient off. And I'm standing on the edge of the helipad looking down at Steinberg's 10 years later.
Yeah.
And it was a huge moment for me. Like,
I bet.
it was emotional. I was like, man, this is...
You ever just take a picture of it?
We did take a picture for sure.
10 years ago, I was dreaming about this.
Yep, exactly. I was an 18-year-old kid down there looking
It
up.
almost gives me goosebumps.
It was a defining moment in my career. Like, wow, I've made it.
Because not only that, but like the amount of things you had to do in your life. And I'm talking sacrifices, traveling,
dude, it was
grinding. Because you were, by this point, right, you've like moved to Texas, moved to Florida. You're working for the rig in Florida. Then you're doing tour guides.
Well, living in Alabama, working out of South Louisiana. So there's a drive to the freaking swamp and live in a trailer in the swamp, and you're flying helicopters offshore, and that's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So like now it's 7 and 7. That was 14 and 14. So you're living out of a suitcase away from home. I had a fiance in a brand new house that I was never at.
Yeah.
I was just grinding, man.
Yeah.
And that job's great for entry-level guys to build a lot of time really quick, or if you live in Louisiana and it seems like a local gig. But for me, I just was personally really unsatisfied there.
Sure.
And I was like, I just don't want to do this.
Were you always wanting to come back to Missouri, though?
Yeah.
That's like, because
That
you
was
got
the goal.
family and stuff here?
Yep.
Is that why?
Born and raised in Washington. And that always just seemed to be the dream, was to move home, be close to friends and family, fly EMS locally. I always thought the Arch program or local EMS was just somewhere I would always fit in, always wanted to be.
Sure.
And so, checked all those boxes, and I've been there for 6 years, and I still love it, but I don't know if I'll do EMS forever. There's still a couple things I haven't done that I would like to go do maybe.
Yeah. Like what?
Have fun flying. So everything I do is tracked, right? If I turn too hard, I get a phone call. If I, I have a glass cockpit, so it's very sophisticated. They every 7 days they download all the flight computer and they scan it with an algorithm.
You just want a little more freedom.
Yeah, I don't want to be on a short leash, and they want me to be a robot, and I'm a guy that's,
I want freedom.
Yeah, I just want to be able
to do what I do.
I just want to crank and bank on that thing and not.
So okay, so this is a good. I think this could be interesting. Have you seen Canada? What's going on in Canada right now? Have you been paying attention?
Not really.
Like everything's on fire.
Oh, I saw the wild satellite photo where they all just kind of started at one time. Have you seen that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, the guy showed it.
Can you look that up, Ariel?
There's a video out there
of what?
where it's like a time lapse where all of, I guess it's Southwest Canada, but like all these fires, it just goes, and they all just grow.
Yeah, can you look up like time lapse? What is it, CBS News? Yeah, look up time lapse. Oh, that is a time lapse?
Anyways,
I want to see it.
Is
it right here?
You trying to talk about like fighting fires with a helicopter?
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Like, is that something? Because you definitely get some more freedom with it, right?
Oh yeah, those guys are. Yeah, they don't care about turning too hard or approaching too fast.
The time lapse you seen, it actually like the fire starting.
It was a guy on Instagram who was like, conspiracy theory dude who's like, look, it all happened at once. Like, what a coincidence.
Oh, like
so I don't think
it started it.
Yeah, like they, rang a bell and everybody lit them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows if there's any truth to that, but. That's something I haven't done is sling anything under a helicopter with like what they call a Bambi bucket, and you dip it in a lake and sling a bucket of water. I've not done that.
Would you do it though?
Yeah, I would. I don't know that I want to be flying around in this because when you show up on that job, you don't clock out at 5 p.m. You're there till that fire's out, and you can only fly so many hours per day. And if you're not flying, you're swapping out with somebody else, and you're just
get to sleep.
You're back to hustling, and I've done that, and I don't want to hustle anymore.
Okay, so you want something kind of in between.
Yeah, now I'm on a. So EMS is a retirement gig. Like most of the time, it's old dudes.
I see.
I'm a young guy in the game, and it's kind of trending that way where we're young. But when I flew in the Gulf of Mexico, I was one of the youngest pilots across the board.
Yeah.
There were a couple guys younger than me, but for the most part, I was 25 years old flying a couple $1 million aircraft offshore.
Yeah.
And I had another guy who was young too that was younger than me, and he was probably the youngest in the business as far as that level of accomplishment.
What's it like flying over that water though?
Sucks.
Like, because if you go down, right?
Yeah, it sucks. You just don't think about it.
Yeah.
So you go through what they call Hewitt training, which is helicopter underwater.
How many miles out you going?
Every morning I would usually go 110.
110 miles out.
Yeah, just to service one rig. So
you can't see land anymore.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
No.
I've never been out that far.
And you've got floats, right, that are armed with a helium tank, believe it or not, or CO2. It's actually helium. But you have 5 controls in a helicopter, right? So your left hand's doing double duty with throttle and manipulation of the collective. So when we take off, what I'm doing is I'm pulling up with my left hand and we're putting pitch in the rotor blades, and they're spinning, right, at a set RPM. So when I put pitch in the blades, it's like sticking your hand out a car window. It wants to fly.
Gotcha.
Right? So we're on the ground, flat pitch. I start pulling some pitch, and we lift up, right? Mm-hmm. Then your feet are doing the tail rotor in the back. So the tail rotor blades, you can put pitch in those and manipulate those as well, and that is how you vector the nose.
It's spinning too, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how you
just
vector
in a different direction.
Yep. Well, I could go off into the weeds on how aerodynamics work in a helicopter, but
it's like on the top of the helicopter. It's
rotor blades,
vertical, and then on the back it's horizontal.
Exactly. Right. And that the horizontal and vertical, the tail rotor is there to counteract the rotation of the main rotor blade. Right. It's called. We create torque. The tail rotor is considered anti-torque, and that's what your feet do. So your feet are on the pedals, which will vector the tail rotor blades and create torque in one direction or another, keep the nose straight or spin around, whatever. And then you have your cyclic, which is your steering wheel, if you will. It's forward, back, left, right, and everything in between. So
Giant joystick.
Yep, exactly. Joystick. So in conjunction with all that, you're working 5 things at once to balance this aircraft. And there's so many analogies on like what it's like to hover a helicopter. It's humbling is all it is. Like that's all I can say is if you take a lesson, you'll realize really quick how humbling it is to hover a helicopter. And for me, I just get in and do it. Like it's like driving a car at this point. I don't think about it, but it's fun when you're teaching somebody, and I'm an instructor. So you got somebody that's never even been in one, and you're like, here, try and fly it. It's humbling.
Once you're up in the air, though, is it easier?
Yeah, it's more straight and level is pretty easy. You know, you're chasing. People will chase altitudes, and they'll step on one pedal too much and crab, and you got to correct a lot of stuff, and you got to pay attention to a lot of things. But for the most part, if you and I were to take off right now, and we got to altitude and straight and level, I could hand it over to you, and you'd probably do okay. Okay. It's that taking off and landing thing that gets people.
Sure.
So
I could see that.
I had a buddy one time, and I let him fly, and he started doing this, and it just gets exaggerated. And I had my fiance in the back, and she's like, I'm done. Let me out. Like, I'm not flying with Hank because Hank couldn't keep it in a football field. Mm-hmm. You know, it's tough. Mm-hmm.
I could imagine it'd be pretty hard.
Yeah.
Especially taking off.
Sure.
And landing. Most people can't drive a stick shift.
Well, you compare that to an airplane. There's a kid called the Barefoot Bandit, and this is, years ago. This kid had like a troubled life and blah blah blah. He bought some books online on about aviation, flying an airplane, and he stole airplanes and flew them across the country and ended up in the Bahamas with no experience. He read a book and stole an airplane.
How long ago was this?
It's not. I mean, the Barefoot Bandit. If you want to look it up.
This isn't the kid that...
It's a wild story.
It was an airplane or a helicopter?
It was an airplane, because that's my point, is you could read a book and steal an airplane. You can have 10 hours of instruction and not be able to steal a helicopter.
Gotcha.
Is
this the kid that he talked to him on the radio?
No, that was Seattle. That was Seattle SeaTac.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, I just always wanted to fly a plane.
Is it the guy that killed himself, right?
I think he did.
Yeah, he did. He was like a ground handler guy, and he stole a freaking like a passenger plane from Seattle Tomac.
Yeah.
And went out and but he's like, I'm just a guy with a couple screws loose, and he's like, I think I'm just gonna roll it inverted and call it a night. And that's exactly what he did. That's a wild thing to listen to.
I bet it is. I remember like seeing it. I don't remember where I even seen it, but like they thought he was like almost like they thought he stole the plane to do something wrong. Right?
Yeah, and he's like, I know, I always wanted to fly. I'm just a guy with a couple screws loose and blah blah blah, and yeah, he was out looping this freaking passenger jet, and no flight experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but that is insane.
I'm not discrediting fixed wing aviation at all. I think it's great. I think but I will say I have flown both airplanes and helicopters, and airplanes are pretty easy,
much easier
in comparison.
Yeah, it's just preference on what someone wants to do.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you gotta have them both.
Yeah.
Makes the world go around.
Exactly.
I mean, thank God for those guys that are flying the big passenger planes, because I want to go to Miami in 3 hours.
Those guys just push buttons and turn knobs for the most part. Like once you get to a really high level of aviation, it gets easier.
The guys working for Southwest, or
the farther you go, the farther you climb the ladder, the easier it gets.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've flown a plane enough, like flown in a plane enough, not flown a plane, but flown in a plane enough that it doesn't really scare me. And most of the time, like you hit turbulence or whatever, and it's just kind of like, I trust them. I know something. Like, what is it? What's turbulence when you're hitting it?
It could be a lot of things.
You hit it?
Oh yeah, yeah. For us, since we're low level, we get a lot more what we would call like, let's say summertime right now. Okay, perfect example. You get over top of St. Louis, and you get all this heat coming off the asphalt, coming off the city, and that heat's rising. So you may be on the edge, over the Mark Twain National Forest, and everything's, smooth. All of a sudden, you hit the edge of the city, and you're like coming out of your seat because all that heat is rising, and it's just creating this updraft, and you're fighting it, and it's beating the hell out of you in the helicopter.
Most of the time, you get hit turbulence when you're taking off or you're landing.
No, I mean,
I feel like that's how it is. Like every time I've taken a flight.
Sure. Well, in a big jet like that, there's a lot of other factors. You might be landing 3 minutes or 2 minutes behind another big jet that's creating wake turbulence. So when a big plane like that takes off, it creates all these vortices that come off the wings, and it may create a rough spot.
I see.
And yeah.
So like all that turbulence, most of the time, it's nothing to ever worry about.
Yeah. Dude,
not like a
those
wings
big
falling
jets, they can just, I mean, you're fine.
Those things are pretty safe.
Yeah.
Well, they always say like they're the safest thing, right? Or they're safer than a car.
Statistically, I mean, safer than driving to work every day on the interstate.
Right, because it's just when you're that high in the air, I don't like not being in control.
So those guys, you got to understand, those guys are, I mean, either. I'm with you. But those big jets like that, they're all on IFR flight plans. Everything's planned out literally weeks in advance. That's the difference between what I do and what they do is we're what's called an on-demand service versus a scheduled service. Like if I flew for Southwest, I would know right now in 2 weeks I got a trip to Phoenix. Where when I go into work, I have no idea what's going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
The phone might not ring. It might ring and we might not, nobody's going to sleep. We might be.
You might be going in two totally different directions every time.
One night, we may be down.
Going straight north.
Yeah.
And then the next call is straight
south for whatever. Maybe the first one's a stroke. Maybe the second one's a car accident. Maybe you have no idea.
True. Yeah.
So phone rings. And so here's an interesting thing. They won't tell me what I'm going to until I accept the flight, right? Because it puts undue pressure on you. So
you have to accept a flight
before they tell me what I'm going to.
Gotcha.
They'll just say you have an MVA, motor vehicle accident.
And you're saying you accept it as like your dispatch calls you?
Yep. Dispatch calls me, and so I'll put you through a scenario. That dispatch.
Yeah. Put me through a scenario.
Dispatch will call. I'm watching YouTube, doing nothing. Right. Ring. And they'll say, hey, we've got an MVA, motor vehicle accident. And it's, you're headed, they'll give me a heading and a distance. They'll say let's say 270, which is west. They'll say 270 for 50. Okay, 50 miles away. It's going to take us, roughly 25 minutes to get there. I look at the weather. Okay, there's no thunderstorms or no low ceilings because we do have minimums. Like we have to meet a certain criteria. There are a lot of days we have to say no because the ceilings are low or the visibility is low or there's fog or whatever. Like we have to say no a lot.
So what do they do in those situations? Well,
they stuff you in an ambulance and try and ground pound you, because no aircraft are going to come. But anyway, so I'll evaluate the weather. And then I'll say, yeah, weather's good. We'll take it. What do we got? And then they'll tell me, there's been a 5-year-old girl struck by a vehicle, blah, blah, blah. All right. The reason they won't tell me that ahead of time is because you feel this pressure. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's a kid or whatever, they're like, I'm going to go.
Right, because if it's like on the border of like, should I go or should I not?
Sure, and you feel obligated to go help that kid, you're going to, like, all of a sudden, minimums and that stuff starts going out the window. And you're like, let's go for it. And then before you know it, you're pushing an aircraft into a situation that may put 3 people at risk to go save 1 person.
Yeah.
So they won't tell me. Right, until I'm like, yeah, we're good. Then they tell me because, again, if they tell you beforehand, you feel a little more pressure to go.
That makes sense, though.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's very smart.
Yep, and it's great. It keeps all the pressure off you. And then if they tell you what it is and you still feel that pressure, well, fine. But you made that decision without knowing that information, so you're gonna react differently.
Mm-hmm. I kind of just wonder, just out of curiosity, you ever freaking flown through a bird or something?
Yeah. For sure.
Chopped it up.
Not me, but a coworker. We had a duck come through the window at like 2 a.m, 150 miles an hour, a duck straight through the window.
Through the glass?
It's plexiglass, but straight through the freaking front windshield, ended up in the patient's lap. They had to do an emergency landing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like big deal. I've hit.
What do you do in that situation?
You keep calm and get it on the ground.
It's got to catch you off guard, though. I mean, a rock smoking a glass window in a car going down the road is loud.
Sure. Imagine a freaking mallard coming through the front seat. Right. Through the front window, yeah. And fortunately for him, it came through the passenger window. If it comes through our window and hits us in the face, there's been fatal accidents like that where they
that's crazy.
Post-accident, the NTSB does a report. And they're like, well, we found bird bones in the engine because you suck them up and you spit half a chicken out the other side and half of it stays in the engine.
Like it takes a helicopter down?
Yeah, we're single engine. So if we take something through the intake and it stops the engine, that's it.
Down.
Yeah. You're either performing an auto rotation, hopefully successfully.
What's that mean? It's an auto rotation.
Auto rotation. So the beauty about helicopters
you get out there and spin the blades, like
kind of.
Come on.
So when you're flying, the engine is spinning the blades, right? If the engine quits, and it's something we train for a lot, it's in my opinion, the most fun you can have in training is doing auto rotations. But so when the engine quits for whatever reason, say you run out of fuel or take a bird through the intake, there's a mechanism in the transmission called a freewheeling unit that will separate the engine and transmission and allow the blades to continue to spin. So they go from being driven to, as you start falling, the wind coming up through the rotor blades will keep them turning like a leaf falling to the ground, right?
Yeah.
And I can manipulate how fast they turn.
What's those one little things?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the name of them, but you know what I'm talking about. You watch them corkscrew down?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they used to call them I thought they used to call them like helicopters.
Well, that is what an auto rotation is. So the engine quits, the freewheeling unit kicks in, it separates the engine and transmission so things don't lock up. And then all of a sudden, as you're falling, the wind coming up through the rotor system will drive those blades. And then I can speed them up or slow them down by, like, if I pull a bunch of pitch, which is going to create a bunch of drag, slow them down. Sure. If I go flat pitch, it's going to take that drag away and speed them up. So you can manipulate that all the way to the ground, and you fly that sucker all the way to the ground. Shit's happening quick. Like, you got to pick a spot to land and set your airspeed and your altitude and everything and ride it in, and then use all that saved up energy that you have at the bottom to flare. And you can put a helicopter down and everybody get out and walk away without an engine.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah, it's
probably saved a ton of lives.
Well, I mean, it's part of how they. I mean, yeah, it would just turn into a greased brick if that freewheeling unit didn't. Yep,
it's just free falling.
Yeah. There's no gliding. There's no wing. Our wing or our airfoil is being driven. You know, like in an airplane, it's fixed. That's why they call it fixed wing. So you could shut the engine off in an airplane and glide down because you're still creating that low pressure, high pressure situation over the wing. Where ours, like, they got to stay spinning somehow.
Right. So, yeah, that makes sense. So when you're flying, do you like think about like when are you thinking about like stuff like that?
Yep.
Like,
I am constantly
when you're flying over something. You're like, okay, I need to be looking out.
I can go there. I could, if the engine quit right now, there's a dead spot in the trees, or I see a road down. It's not always great, especially south of I-44 out of Sullivan. That's Mark Twain National Forest. There is nothing.
Yeah.
So I'll bump my altitude up. In that situation, altitude's your friend because it gives you more time to glide and to plan. Yeah, altitude's your friend over trees.
Yep, it makes sense.
They're not soft. They look soft, but they're not.
No,
so they look it looks soft from up here, and you're like, I wouldn't want to stick this thing in there. So I know I'm thinking about that constantly. Mm-hmm. And at night, you try not to think about it because at night, man, if that happens at night, we're under night vision goggles. Your field of view is reduced to about 40%. Like,
you're flying at night, you're on night vision.
Yeah, we have military grade night vision goggles.
Cool.
It is cool.
That is cool.
It's hard to hide from them. And I wouldn't know that
What do you mean it's hard to hide from them?
So night vision goggles that we use will amplify any light source by like 2,400
Can you get some of them outside of work sometime?
I have had them outside of work.
I want to try them on. I just want to see what they're like.
They're wild. I'll show you a video when we're done here, and it's pretty cool.
Okay.
I mean, they're legit.
Yeah, I've always wanted to try.
They're registered with the FBI as a weapon.
Whoa.
That's how good they are.
Whoa.
It's wild.
Yeah. We could probably look it up too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a brand that we
Will you look
use.
them up, Ariel? Just look up FBI grade.
No, just. I mean, it is what you think. It's NVGs. Everything's green, but it reduces your field of view to about 40%. And it's like looking through toilet paper tubes, right? So you got to constantly keep your head on a swivel. You got to constantly.
Is that what they look like?
Yeah, those are probably
those look like
those are. It's not the monocular one with the one. It's still the bottom right corner there. That one. That's probably what mine look like right there.
$14,000.
Yep.
You can have your own.
Yep, that's about
Try to
it.
go find like a YouTube video or something. Ariel.
I'll show you a cool video, but I don't know about the statute of limitations on if I'm supposed to be filming that or not. So
Yeah. Probably not.
I'll leave that out.
Probably not.
Either way, let's put it this way. You could be in the middle of a field or the woods or whatever, out in the Mark Twain National Forest. You pull your phone out and the screen lights up and you're there. So they're so good on a full moon night.
What do you mean?
I mean, you're lit up. Like I can find you. You could light a match in the middle of the forest.
Oh,
if we're over
they
top,
work that good.
boom. Yeah, they work that good at amplifying the
Now,
light
does it
source.
like, it just shows everything very, very well. Like it doesn't like, from what I remember, like in a video game, This is like my only experience
Yeah.
with night vision. It like makes a person like white, like an outline is like white.
That would be like a phosphorus, like a white phosphorus kind of MVG.
Ariel, will you just let us know if you find something? Okay. We'll hear it. We'll hear it.
So what the beauty of having them though is, say we're circling a car accident at night, and coupled with the night vision goggles and the spotlight that I have, I can basically make it daytime. So on my left hand, I have a joystick like on an Xbox, and that's directly connected to my spotlight. So we're flying over and I'm circling a scene. I throw that spotlight up, and as I'm circling, I'm looking with the goggles. There you go. That's exactly what it looks like. So if the moon's full, or if there's no cloud cover and the moon's out, the moon will cast shadows through the trees, just like the sun will, where it looks like daytime.
Oh, like a full moon would do that.
Oh yeah, and it's like daytime. It's
Here recently.
yep. It's been great. Oh, Saturday night was a full moon. We're slammed.
The moon like a full moon.
That is exactly what it looks like. I would bet that this is an EMS guy.
It's even better with the spotlight on.
Yeah, because it's you can make it daytime, or you maybe let's say we drop somebody off in St. Louis. This is where the kid in me comes out, I guess, or just I don't know. I think it's fun. We'll be flying back from St. Louis at like 2 a.m, and you find somebody in a field with a side by side, and they don't know you're not the cops, and I think it's hilarious.
Oh, you just slap them with the light.
Throw that thing up, and I go pow, and put the spotlight on them, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's the cops!" And we're flying by laughing, and it's fun. You got to have fun.
Yeah.
We all have dark senses of humor because we work a pretty, like it gets dark sometimes. It's a wild job. So
I mean, it's a lot like the military.
sure.
In like as far as like the positions that you're doing, like 12 hours.
Yep.
12-hour days, just 7 days a week. Sure, you get a week off, but yeah, it's very intense situations a lot of the time.
We bond over it.
Yeah.
You and your coworkers.
All right, there's not a lot of people that can relate probably to what you're doing all the time.
And well, again, that taken out of context thing I was saying earlier is it's hard to be so excited about what I do and to show up on the worst day of your life. And I'm excited to be there. Mm-hmm. Taken out of context, that it's hard to understand, but we're so passionate about what we do and I love flying so much. And we want to help. And,
I don't think that's a bad thing at all though, because like someone in that situation, well, okay, so like even like on a much smaller scale, like dude, I have with my gym and rental properties, someone will call me and the toilets can be broke or something can be going bad, and they're calling me freaking out. Toilet's backing up. Gotta get over here. A pipe's busted. And they're losing their mind. And I'm like, calm down.
yeah.
All right, and I'm in a situation where I can tell them, like, all right, calm down. What's going on? And I walk them through the procedure of, like, is this working?
Did you shut the water off?
Did you shut the water off?
Most people don't know that trick.
Is everything else in the house backed up? Is it just the toilet backed? And, like, I can walk them through it, but if someone's, like, freaking out and then you get there and you're freaking out, it just amplifies it.
Yep.
But if someone can be calm, they can talk through it, or even find a place to make a joke or just, like, put a smile, or, like, even... Because when I was 18, I got in a bad foiler wreck, and I smashed my nose on a sinus up here, and I went to the hospital, and I remember I was freaking out, but what it was is the sinus was crushed, and my whole face like swelled up, especially around my eyes. So like it just made me want to like close my eyes. But I thought maybe I had like a really bad concussion, because I shattered my nose.
Sure.
And I broke my sinus, and I just thought, I was like, man, I got a concussion. I always heard not to go to sleep when you had a concussion. Is that true?
I don't know. I've had several concussions, and I've always heard that too. Yeah,
You just go right home and go to bed?
Yeah, well, I think people go to sleep and then the swelling sets in and they don't wake up. Your brain swells. So if you stay alert and oriented, you're at least fighting that.
Yeah. See, I remember because it was a four-wheeler accident. I was just gushing blood, and we didn't know, and I was like, I thought maybe I had a concussion. Definitely thought there was something wrong. So we called an ambulance, and they rushed me to the hospital, and at first I wasn't freaking out. It wasn't until like waiting on the ambulance and stuff that I was like, okay, I can't keep my eyes open. I definitely can't even see out my right eye, but my left eye, I can't even try to keep it. It was just like a point of like, okay, did I really mess myself up pretty bad here? How bad did I mess myself up? But I remember the guy that worked in the ambulance was like super calm, super nice, cracked some jokes. Like he went through like, he's like, well, let's run some procedures to see if maybe you have some symptoms. And we did it all. And like, I guess like one thing is you can't have trouble maybe remembering stuff.
Yeah, you'll start repeating yourself and asking the same questions over and over.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think he went through that and he's like, it looks like you're just swollen, man. He's like, I think you're going to be okay. I think it's going to be fine. And like in that situation, it was like, I was glad to have someone that was calm, could walk through it and work through it. And he just kind of, he just made the whole situation better.
Sure.
A lot better. So something like that, I don't think it's bad at all.
I have to, and we're all so desensitized to it that, you got to have a dark sense of humor.
Ready to try some alimony?
Yeah, man. Or this job will eat you up. Working in EMS will eat you up because, again, if you're seeing me, you're not having a great day. You know what I mean? Like it's something's not going great for you.
Right. I'm actually one of the few people that get to see you on just you come to visit on just
That's right.
for a good day.
Yeah, if we show up, something's gone wrong. But again, speaking to being excited about that, it's because sure. Let me grab some ice. It's because we're also passionate about what we do, and that's me as the pilot, and that's the medic, and that's my nurses. We all work as a team, and we care about what we do.
Sure, and that you got to.
Yeah, for sure. We take it seriously. We all take pride in it. But we do crack some pretty dark jokes sometimes. Sure. Put it that way.
Well, I'm a fan of dark humor.
Yeah.
I grew up on like South Park and
Oh,
Family
for
Guy,
sure.
so
Yeah,
it's like,
100%.
Like it was just I was screwed from a very young age.
Yeah, me too.
Because when I was a kid, Family Guy came on at 10 o'clock. I was watching it on Adult Swim. That was what I went to bed to.
How old are you?
How old am I now?
Yeah.
I'm 30 now.
I'm 34. Okay. So,
so right around that same sweet spot. So it's just like.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And I mean, I know when to make the jokes and I know when not to make the jokes. I can be serious and I know when to be serious. I know when not to be serious.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, Saturday night, like I said, I don't get involved with too many of I'll hold stuff but Saturday night we had a really intense one and I ended up with blood on my flight suit, which does not happen. I don't get that involved to where like, shit, I got to go home and wash this flight suit and take a shower because I've got blood on me. But we just had two really horrific back-to-back calls, and that's the nature of it sometimes. Like I said, summertime's trauma season.
Yeah.
Never know what you're flying.
Car accident stories?
One of them was an electrocution. Guy messing around on a pole, didn't know what he was doing, touched some high voltage stuff, and didn't go well for him. And then
freaking.
Yeah, like 7,200 watts.
Holy moly!
Like.
You didn't work for the power company?
No. It was in this area. We'll put
Drugs
it that way.
Were involved.
Maybe. He seemed like a tweaker. It went in his left arm and out his right foot like a lightning bolt went through your body. Just
insane.
Burnt everything in between. And then after that we had a head-on collision with a tree. So that's at like 1 a.m, drunk. Right. So that's the kind of stuff we get.
Is that most of the car accidents?
You would think that's all we get. Like you would think my job is a lot of car accidents and stuff like that. It's really not. Those are a percentage of it, but not as much as you think. But those situations are really volatile, and you never know what's going to happen. Like we've landed on a scene before, and I remember we're picking this girl up. And then all of a sudden a minivan shows up out of nowhere and a dad with no shirt, no shoes, jumps out of this minivan and starts barreling towards the running aircraft. He's trying to see his daughter. And all of a sudden you're like firemen and I'm trying to unbuckle. Like I got to get out and stop this guy because they could run into the tail rotor. Like when you're running up to a running aircraft, if you're not in the right mind, you don't understand how dangerous that can be. Right. So all of a sudden you're trying to unbuckle and get out and like try and get
People are idiots too.
Oh, dude. And when emotion's involved, you talk about staying cool and calm and like keep, making everybody else feel cool and calm. When emotions get involved and that's your kid getting loaded in the aircraft. Yeah. It's hard to, people just bypass that shit and they'll run straight to you.
So what do you do in a situation like that?
Well, hopefully the fire department gets them before I do, but I have had to unbuckle and get out and like grab a dude and be like, you need to go over here.
A dad?
Yeah, a dad. And then I've landed.
It's gotta be hard. It's gotta be like, hey man, I know you want to see your daughter, but
listen,
meet us at the hospital.
You're not helping right now. And that's usually what I say. I'm like, listen, man, you're not helping. I understand, but this is where we're going. Drive safe. Because don't think you can beat us, because you can't.
Yeah.
All right, you're not going to beat me there.
We're trained professionals.
We're going to be there in 20 minutes.
We're doing everything.
Drive safe.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And I don't get why people put themselves in situations where they make the situation worse.
Emotions. I mean, it's hard.
I know, but it's just like, come on, guys. Like,
it's
there's a difference between like, okay, you want to drive to the hospital and you want to go 70.
Yeah.
Sure. But the people that are flying there, it's like, dude, you're rushing to get there.
Yeah, putting your flashers on and driving 110 helps no one.
No. Yeah.
And
you're gonna hurt yourself.
Your person who you're going to see, they're in the best possible hands.
Right. And they want.
If they don't make it, it's not because we didn't try. It's because sometimes you can't fix.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's beyond fixing.
Too bad.
Right.
Right.
And we're kind of the middlemen in EMS. Like, we just get you there.
Yeah.
Once you get there, it's up to the trauma surgeon and that team. And believe me, when we roll someone in a trauma bay, we call 15 minutes out, right, as we're inbound to the hospital. They don't know you're coming. If you pick someone up from a car accident, nobody told them there was a car accident. So we call 15 minutes out and we give a report. And we say, hey, we're inbound to your facility with this guy, and this is what's going on, and it's not going well. And when you land, dude, there's 15 people gowned up, gloved up, ready. And you roll them directly into a trauma room, and people start going to work. They start cutting your clothes off. They start checking you out.
First priority.
Oh, it's wild to see firsthand. And I've been on both sides of it. I've been hurt. I grew up racing motorcycles, and so I've been
You seem like
I've been airlifted before.
Really?
Yeah, I've been airlifted.
How old are you?
When I was airlifted,
it
was 2011. So
you're already flying at this point.
Math. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was a pilot. Yeah, for sure.
2011. You said it was like 2006.
2007 when I graduated, and then I was in flight school. Graduated flight school 08. So
4 years in.
Yeah, and I didn't have a job flying really. Actually, I did. I was working for these guys, but it was kind of intermittent. Just when they had work, they'd call me as kind of a contract guy. But yeah, I had a motocross accident, and
is that what it was?
Yeah, broke my collar and broke my clavicle and had a wicked concussion and got airlifted and all that stuff. But
just goofing off, or you racing?
I grew up racing.
Yeah.
So
was it at a race though?
It was at a practice day.
Okay.
Ironically, both my big injuries were at a practice day.
Sure.
But then, so when I was working for Arch, 2019, I broke my back in 3 places, and I thought one of our aircraft. Yeah, motocross. it's a
dude, motocross.
It's not a great.
Dangerous.
Yeah, it's a dangerous sport.
It's one thing that I see so many people. There's a guy Short out here. You ever heard Short?
Man, he was a great friend of mine.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. And he got killed, and
so he worked for Dirtworks.
Yeah.
I used to go race, and they would bring the Dirtworks semi truck, especially locally, and Andrew would. Not Andrew Short. Jesus, Chris Blankenship.
Yeah.
Yeah. They called him Short.
I didn't know him very well.
Chris was great. He would, but we'd be racing out of like an old Chevy 1500, and he'd be like, come hang out with the Dirtworks rig. And we'd fucking push our bikes up and park under the Dirtworks tent. And because we were all local boys, they just treated us like we were great. I mean, I'd be down there with no friends, no family racing, and Short would be standing in the corner waving a towel like, come on, let's go, and cheering, be my cheerleader. He was a great guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, so Ross Blankenship is his nephew, I think.
I don't know if they're brothers or
no, not brothers.
Okay, because Ross still works for Dirtworks.
Yes.
He built supercross tracks.
Ross came on the podcast.
Did he?
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah, you need to watch. It was a fun one.
Yeah,
that was one, if I was going to recommend, especially with your interests and stuff, you'd like that one.
Yep, absolutely.
He was the one that came on. We drank half a bottle of alimony, dude. We put
That's great.
Yeah, we put some alimony down.
There was right up here, there was a private track being built a couple years ago that I got the chance to ride on. And then it just never went anywhere. But they had a water truck and bulldozers. It was
right out past me?
Yeah. Right where it turns, it does a sharp 90 up here on 50. Right past where you turn off to Owensville. You keep going. Go back in there a little bit, and there was this killer private track. Only got to go to it one time, but
yeah, that's probably Ross's.
It might be. It might be.
Yeah, it's on Dead End Road.
Maybe. It's been years.
I almost guarantee it's Ross.
I don't remember, but yeah, that was. Those are great people, just local guys.
I'm pretty sure Chris was supposed to take over. I think there was. We'd have to re-listen to the podcast because I talked to Ross about it, and I think Chris was like in the works of taking, I think Alex, the guy that owns the company, Dirtworks, he was talking. He's like, I'm kind of wanting to get out of it. I'm looking to get someone in a position that can take over. I think, pretty sure Short was supposed to take over, and then what's that? You like it?
That alimony. That's
Dude, it's good stuff.
That's great.
It is good stuff. It is. We can have as much as you want.
I like these glasses too.
Yeah, I think they were just neat. But yeah, you're more welcome to have as much.
I want to look at the bottle. But go ahead. No, continue.
Yeah, I think he was going to take over, and then he was just racing for fun.
Freak accident, man, at Washington at the fair.
Yeah.
My buddy.
Bike flipped over wrong. He landed on.
Yep. Friend of mine, Jeremy Higgins. They were all in the pits. Kevin Windham, this big time Supercross guy, came up. I love childhood hero. Something happened with Chris's bike, and he ended up riding Kevin Windham's bike, which was like factory Honda, like no shit 450. And something happened, and he went over a Dragon's Back and went into cardiac arrest there on Kevin's bike. And I was working, unfortunately, at the time. I wasn't there, but great guy.
It seems like there's so many motocross.
It's brutal. So I didn't mean to, get off path there, but so I've seen both sides of it. And when I got hurt this last time, I was like a fly on the wall. When they were giving me drugs and stuff, I had heard, like, I knew what they were giving me, and I knew, and this time I didn't hit my head, so I was like conscious, but I knew I broke my back, and I knew I was in trouble. It wasn't fun. But I thought Arch 1, one of our aircraft, was going to come and get me. I was like, whatever, call them.
What's up, man?
Yeah, yo.
How's your shift going?
My people.
I don't think I'm going to make it in Monday on work.
Yeah, I did. I had to take like short-term disability, and I was out of work for a couple months. And
and your back's probably never the same after that.
No, and I'm sure like, that's when I got into working out and fitness. Is like, because they didn't give me any kind of rehab. They're like, good luck.
Really?
Here's some Vicodin. Have a good life. So that's when I just started taking PT, to myself, and then now.
Like, you went and seen someone, or you just learned it?
Nope. I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gym, and I'm gonna start working on my core, get my core strong, and get my back strong, because your T5, 6, and 7 right in the middle of your shoulder blades, and so you got your rhomboids and stuff that run alongside of them, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go focus on
trying to strengthen them.
Yep, like targeted strength training and get everything strong around my spine, and then just build from there.
How long ago was that?
2019.
Okay, so not that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago.
5 years ago? Gosh,
not even
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Dang.
Because all through COVID, when COVID hit, I was still laid up. I couldn't do much. So I turned to that's when I got into boating. I'm like, well, this doesn't beat me up that bad.
Sure.
And I fixed up my boat, but yeah.
So do you see a chiropractor at all for anything like that?
I have been. I have mixed feelings on chiropractors. I kind of think it's snake oil.
It's funny. I've only done a chiropractor. I've only had chiropractor work done one time.
Yeah.
I felt the same way.
Yeah, I'm like.
But I had a chiropractor come on the other day.
Did you?
Yep. And
did you get free adjustment out of it?
That was my only time I ever got an adjustment. Yep. After it, he's like, "You want an adjustment?" I'm like, "I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know."
Sure.
I just felt like I feel good. I ain't got a lot of problems going on, and I felt like I've always heard people like, if you go one time, you gotta keep going.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I don't want to get loosened up. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm good where I'm at. My parents don't get much work done. They seem pretty happy. I don't want to pop anything loose and then have to keep coming back.
Sure.
I can't financially afford a chiropractor.
Medically, I was like, I'll do whatever, because it sucked. having a broken back like that was not
Were you in a
fun.
brace?
No, they were gonna put me in a clamshell, and then they were just like, "We're just don't do anything. You're gonna let it heal," because it was compression fractures, right down the middle. So just kind of healed, and I don't know if it healed correctly or not. Because when I did go to the chiropractor and they took X-rays, my spine was like I had freaking scoliosis right there where I broke it, and they got that straightened out. But I would go.
Chiropractor did?
Yeah, I would go get a massage. I'd go do like a 60-minute massage, and then immediately go to the chiropractor afterwards. So they get me all loose. Get my muscles all loose, and then they go adjust me. And I did that for, I don't know, a month, and it finally started straightening me out.
Have you been back in a while?
Nope.
I was just wondering, I wonder what it looks like now.
Who knows? I don't know. It hurts always. Like, I will always feel it.
Well, you probably should go back.
Yeah, I probably should.
Just to, like, have them smack it back in the spot.
I don't know though. Sometimes it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, you don't want to go
I
and
agree
have
with
them.
that, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to just keep opening up stuff.
Yeah. Like, oh no, just keep
Well,
manipulating.
depending
that
on who
spot.
you go to too, they could tell you. Like someone could go and
That's why I
an
think it's
honest
snake oil.
chiropractor could be like, "Nah, man, you look like you're good. I wouldn't come back for 3 to 6 months unless you feel something." Another one would be like, you're good, but he'd be like, "Come back in another week," and they just keep pulling $100 from you every time.
I went to this
That's my
place.
problem.
I went to this place that seemed real high tech. Like you walk in, you sign in on an iPad, and it seems very advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent me to the big room, right? This place in Washington. And you go in the big room, and there's like 6 or 8 other people sitting around in this giant like auditorium, and the chiropractor just comes around to each person one at a time, and it's like, "Oh, how's your day going?" And yeah,
They do, too.
and then they go to the next person and do it, and you just wait for him to come around. So the whole time you're like sitting in this room as the healer comes around and like fixes you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a cult.
They do your neck.
Yeah, but I'm like,
Dude,
this is a
that's scary
freaking
to
cult,
me.
man. Yeah, I know,
They're
me
like-
too. Like I've seen
how
too
you
many.
feel?
I've seen too many movies where you.
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
like,
I don't think my
know about
neck's
that.
supposed to snap like that.
Yeah, bro.
It's interesting stuff. Well, okay, do you squat?
Yeah. I don't
You need to throw
care
that
for
out,
I don't
man.
care for it though, because where that injury is,
Yeah.
it puts all that compression on my shoulders. So
Dude, I don't think
I
people
squat
should
light.
squat.
Light.
Yeah, okay, squat. But even then, you're putting all that pressure down on your spine.
Yep.
Right.
I
So
don't
if it
care
is
for
straight, it's even any weight at all.
Yeah.
I hate squat, so it was just a good excuse for me to be
Me
like,
too.
I'm done. I'm good with leg press. I'll leg press all day long.
I do. So the reason I was not early, I think being on time is late. I just did 14 miles on the Katy Trail before I came here, and then earlier this morning, early on my bike.
That's cool. Still.
Yeah, and then this morning I did 4 miles. I ran 4 miles on the Riverfront Trail, and I was doing those the Riverfront in the morning with a 20-pound weight vest, but it started hurting my like all of a
Yeah.
sudden I noticed right in the middle of my back I started getting this pinch. I'm like, I think that's because for 4 miles I'm getting 20 pounds like trying
That's
to compress
so.
my spine. So I quit doing the weight vest thing. But
Do you have like when you run? Do you have any like special running shoes or anything?
I wear Brooks.
Yeah, Ghost Brooks.
Yeah.
13s.
I don't know what they are.
Yeah,
They're worn out, is what they are. They got a lot of miles
Ghost
on them.
Brooks is like, I think they're the best running shoes out there.
It took me a
What got
minute.
you on them?
I did a Tough Mudder,
Mm-hmm.
and
Will you look up Ghost Brook 13, Ariel?
did a Tough Mudder, and
Best running shoes I've ever had.
I started getting shin splints really bad. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's got to be my shoes or something, you know?
Yeah.
And so I bought
But
those Brooks.
had you not ran for a long time?
I'm not much of a runner.
Yeah.
Like when I say I do 4 miles a day, I do it with my dog and I break it up between running and walking. He's like an 80-pound pit bull
cool.
who, yeah.
They look like that?
Yep, my rocks and
Brooks.
Brooks.
Yep.
But when I first started running with them, it felt like they were like spongy. Like if I would step, it felt like my foot wasn't planted. I think it's
Yeah.
because they weren't broke in.
Yeah.
Took a little bit to get used to.
Sure.
But
Well, they're dope shoes.
yep,
Love
yep.
them. When I started, I'm not a runner either.
No, I
hate it. When I was honestly, I was.
I work like aesthetically pleasing muscle groups.
Sure.
And that's about it.
When I started going to the gym at 21 years old, I started the gym for like maybe a month. And I was going partially because I wanted to get in shape and have like more self-confidence. I just didn't want to be out of shape.
Yeah.
But I also, I think that's actually why I started. Well, not just for myself, but I also just wanted to look better for like women. And
How do you
it's
feel
traditional.
about the modern day dad bod movement?
That just means nothing to me. It's just stupid.
I'm against it.
It's stupid.
Fully.
I don't believe in it.
Fully against it. Oh, I like a dad bod.
It's just
no,
like-
you don't.
No.
It's just easy.
Yeah, I don't even know what. I think that's just like women that are with men that don't have the drive to go to the gym and work out themselves, and the
Exactly.
women just have to act like they like it.
Sure.
And there's like
He stands in the driveway and drinks Natty Light. It's fine.
yeah, it's like whatever. You don't like that.
No, I don't.
You know, if you were single, you would not be chasing that freaking beer belly down. You'd
that
be chasing
life
do with abs.
You do that in your 30s, and then catches up with you in your 40s, and then in your 50s, I'm flying you out of somewhere because you're having a freaking heart attack.
Problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to find your balance, for sure. And like, I like drinking beer, but
Sure.
you can't do it every night, and you got to learn to take care of yourself. You got to find one problem I have, because like the dad bod thing, like I'm not like on the movement of it, but.
Well, you own a gym, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I actually own it. Like one of my biggest things is I want to make sure everybody knows that they can come to my gym.
sure.
Doesn't matter who you are.
You're not fat shaming anybody.
No,
and
dude,
you're excited for the guy who's maybe a little overweight that's in there working out. At least he's
I'm
working
excited
on
for
himself.
anybody that walks in my gym and they said, I've never worked out before, trying to get into it. I'm going to give it a month and we're going to give it a try.
Yeah.
I love them people. I'm like, cool. You want a workout plan? You want me to show you some stuff?
Sure.
You want me to help you out? Like, I love that, because what I was saying was that when I started working out, I think I started working out a little bit for myself, but a little bit for other people too. And I was a month in, and I had a friend that had got med set from the Marines. So he had plenty of time, and he liked working out, and he's like, I'll work out with you, man. And he told me, I was like a month in, he's like, dude, if you're working out for anyone but yourself, you're not going to make it.
Sure.
He's like, you got to do it for yourself.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's got to be for me. And it was after that it was so, I wasn't working out to impress some women anymore. I was working out to better my life, get in shape for myself. And then like it was over time where I started to learn like what kind of like mental benefits it started doing for me. Because I was this young kid with a bunch of energy. I was a skater kid.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, dude.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I kind of like, especially being a skater, you're kind of an outcast. You kind of make yourself an outcast.
That's why motocross suited me, because you're by yourself. There's no team.
Yep.
And that's why I was a skate kid, because I was like, I don't need a football
Solo
team.
sport.
Or
Yeah,
solo sport.
Same. Well, so all my family's in the sports, and I was in sports growing up, and I liked sports, but I didn't have like I remember playing like two-hand touch in middle school and grade school. And I remember the kids that like we were playing two-hand touch and they would spear you. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what's your problem? Like, I remember getting mad at these kids in elementary school. And like, I'm out there just to play, get a touchdown. I'll throw the football to someone else. I'll pass the football to someone else. And it was because I started skateboarding in like 6th, 7th grade.
Mm-hmm. I had a half pipe in my backyard.
I did too. And me and my dad built one.
I convinced my dad to build me a half pipe.
Same, man. Yeah. Same. And I was a kid that was out there at 6 a.m. I'm like, I woke up. I'm like, I want to skate. I want to try. I want to learn a kickflip. So I'm out there at 6 a.m. Kickflip.
Same.
Just trying to learn. But yeah, that's when I learned that I was very competitive against myself. Like I am competitive. I'm extremely competitive.
You're your harshest critic.
Yeah, but I'm not like, I will never judge somebody else. Like I will root for you because I know some people like that if you start to do better than them, they're getting jealous. They don't want to see you succeed. They're trying to like pick you and like pull you down. I'm not that way at all. I will freaking be in the gym every day trying to crush it, but I'm not trying to be better than you. If you're in there, I'm like, hey man, congrats, like hell yeah, man, keep going, push harder. But I'm not like I'm not the kind to get jealous because somebody else is succeeding. Like that's not me at all, and that's why I didn't like sports, because I'm not trying to be better than the people on my team. I just want to be better than myself.
Sure.
Like I made one touchdown
better
last
today
game,
than you
I
were
wanna get
yesterday.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why, as growing up, it was like, okay, skateboarding really fit for me. I got into cars because it was just like,
You're into cars too?
Dude, I painted cars for 10 years of my life.
Me too.
Really? You painted cars?
ASC certified. I threw in welding, and then I was a painter for I worked at an airbrush shop. I did it was a company that doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't matter. But yeah,
Tim Cole's?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, Mayhem.
Yeah, Mayhem Customs. Yeah,
dude,
man, I know Tim Cole. Yeah,
I worked for Mayhem when I was 18.
I worked in.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I know Tim Cole. Tim Cole's a cool dude, man.
Cool dude.
Yeah.
Great. He's a super talented guy.
Super talented.
Dude, when I worked there, we were painting Gator jet boats.
Yeah.
And he was doing this like Iron Maiden. Like it was an Iron Maiden album cover on the front of this jet boat, and I was blown away. I went to the Votech, right?
Yeah, me too.
Four Rivers.
Me too.
Yeah, okay. So, did you ever have Dave Ross Or was it after Dave and Nick Rector?
It was Rector, and then there was another guy.
So you had Nick Rector?
I think. Was he the older guy?
Yeah.
He's passed away now. Right?
Yes.
I actually really liked him, though.
Such a good dude.
He's like this.
That dude shaped my youth.
Really?
He was such a wise old dude who
man.
you were learning how to do body work and great guy.
Yeah. He's like the traditional old man that can seem grumpy at first, but
He's the
when
old
you
guy
show him
that-
you're serious.
Yeah.
He'll show up for you.
Yeah, he was a great dude. So I did the same program, right? And
Okay.
and I painted cars for them, and I worked for Tim, and then Pro Body Works in Union. I know the owner very
Rodney.
well. Yeah, you know Rodney?
Yeah, man.
Okay,
I'm telling you, I did it.
Rodney's one of my.
Did it up.
Rodney called me before on my way here. Like him and I are great friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm meeting with his daughter tomorrow night. Her husband wants to be a pilot. So
Oh, cool.
ironically, these two things are lining up. So, anyways, small world.
Yeah, it is, and it's.
But I love cars. I've got an old classic Camaro. I got a street bike.
the blue Camaro.
It's black.
Black.
Yeah, it's a 78
For some reason I was thinking it was blue.
Z28.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, it is. What am I think? Why was I thinking it was an IROC for a second? I guess it is. Yeah,
I'm liking IROC.
Yeah.
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
No, I got a 78 Z28. It's all redone. It's a work in progress. Got a
You do it yourself?
Yep. Yeah.
How bad was it when you got it?
It was my parents' car. I grew up with it under blankets and boxes in our garage. They never did anything with it. I can remember my dad driving it maybe twice throughout my entire childhood.
Oh.
And when I turned 16, I took an interest in it. When I graduated, they gave it to me. They're like, you can have it. And then ever since, I've been
Building it since.
But
How'd you not tear it up at 16 years old?
I beat on it.
Yeah.
It hasn't had an easy life.
I know 16-year-old Ryan.
Yeah, I beat
Ryan
on
had
it.
a freaking Acura Legend. Front-wheel drive Acura Legend. And I did burnouts
cold air intake and
I
hacked exhaust.
I did it was a hot rod to me.
Sure.
I was just driving the hell out of it. I couldn't imagine if I had a Camaro. The amount of burnouts and stuff I would have done.
Yeah, 355 small block at 411s.
When you had it or now?
Now.
Now you have it.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work to it.
Did you
But
do the paint too?
no, the paint was done by Dave Ross, the guy who ran the Four Rivers when I was there. He probably exited the program
Yeah,
between
Schultz,
you and I.
I think his name's Rob Schultz is doing it now.
Yeah.
I think actually Tim Cole's working there now too.
Really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Tim don't stay in touch with me anymore.
No, I mean it was a summer. It was a summer job.
Well, I worked with Tim for a year, and Tim actually was the whole reason that basically kept me from falling out of auto body.
Yeah.
Because when I started out, I was how you were saying you were just trying to apply anywhere to get a job.
Yeah.
I was the same way, dude. It was 2013, 2012, 2013. I think it was 2013. And I was trying anything to get a job. And there was a guy that had a used car lot with he did the body work in the back. So he didn't have a body shop. He would
Wasn't it Fleer?
No, it was over in Cuba.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm telling you, I only worked there 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was the worst experience of my life. And the guy that ran the car dealership just got out of prison. And he just got out of prison. Yeah, he just got out of prison. He was going to open his car lot back up. He hired his druggy friend that also just got out of prison with him to sell the cars out of the front. And then I was going to do body work out of the back. It was in the back that it just looked like all overgrown weeds and trees. And there was a little shop with a bunch of cars back there. Mm-hmm. And there was another dude that it was a druggie. He got paid he told me he got paid $15 an hour, and he drove a new Camaro because of a settlement he got. So he paid off his trailer and bought a brand new Camaro.
This
and
is
everybody
Franklin County.
Yeah.
The success story.
Exactly.
Right
He looked
here.
just like a straight meth head. And he's like, yeah, I'm getting $15 an hour, but it's cash. So he's like, so it equals out. He's like, I could go down the road and get 18, but he's like, I'm going to
But I'm loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was just
course.
complete druggie. And I'm back there, and it was a single car garage, like a 8 or 10 foot wide garage, door garage, 8 foot tall, 2-car bay deep. And then when you first pull in to the right, there was a single car 8x8 door, little bay that was their paint booth. And they just had the shop lights, like the fluorescent shop lights.
Yeah.
They had them screwed to the wall, and then there was one single window in there, and they would open
box
it.
fan and a
Yes, yes, and it was
AC.
blowing out, and like I remember watching because I never got to paint. I only worked there for 2 weeks, and I remember watching the guy paint a car there, and he would open it up, and the bush was overgrown so much, so when you opened it up, the weeds would fling into the window.
Yeah.
And I remember wasps flying in and flying around as the guy's painting. And I'm like, what is this freaking...
The foliage helps hold the humidity for the paint.
And it filters the fumes.
Yeah, sure.
It was the craziest thing ever.
Painting in nature is my favorite.
Yeah, I've tried it. It don't work out well. I couldn't imagine.
It's funny. What a small world.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I worked there for 2 weeks, and then on a Friday I took off. I said I was going to go to the dentist, and I went around and applied everywhere.
Well,
and that's when I got in with Tim Cole at a shop in Sullivan.
I was going to work for Rodney at Pro Body, and I was going to start on Monday, and I think I went on like Saturday, and I said, look, man, I don't want to start working for you, and you train me. You spend 6 months training me, and then my helicopter career is going to take off, and then I'm going to have to leave you, and it's going to be for nothing. And so I like respectfully declined the position, and him and I have been friends ever since. Because I think it was like, oh, I can respect that. Like, you're not just flaking out on me. I was holding out for what I really was passionate about.
Yeah.
I like working on cars. I love cars, but maybe on the side.
Yeah.
Not as a career.
And that's why I bought my gym. I closed July 1st of 2021. And I literally haven't basically touched a car since...
You have anything?
January.
You have like a project or?
No. So I bought I had an 86 C10. It was nice too, dude. It was freaking, it wasn't perfect, but it was a short bed, clean, lowered down.
Yep.
I had cutouts on it, 355. It was a nice cruiser.
Yep.
I bought it, and that was like my thing. I just wanted something nice for car shows and stuff. I bought it back... I think I can't remember when I bought it, but I bought it. I paid $9,000 for it. Got a hell of a deal on it. I think the guy was asking 15. Somehow I got it for 9. Needed some little stuff. And then when it was last year, beginning of last year, the market was like, it was up.
Oh, God.
It was crazy good.
Yeah.
Everything was up. Car market was up.
Try buying a
Housing
square
market.
body Chevy right now. Like
Exactly. And so I had $9,000. I think I bought a new set of wheels for it, new set of tires. I put a locker in the rear end. And then a line lock on it, so I could, what's the thing where you can press the button and lock the rear end up, or lock the brakes up?
Line lock.
Line lock. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking, well, whatever. Did all this so I could do burnouts and stuff, and it was cool.
All tires must die.
Yeah, and it was awesome truck. I loved it to death, but the market was crazy, and I was in a group called C10 Addicts on Facebook.
Yep.
Put it on there for sale. I put $25,000 on it. I'm like, if I can double my money on it, it's got to go. Because at this point, now I own a gym. So I was like slowly, like at 26 years old, all I'm doing in my life is working in a body shop. At 24 years old, I'm just barely working in a body shop. I'm living at home. I didn't even have I never thought I could afford a $10,000 vehicle. Never thought I'd own my own house. I never thought I'd amount to anything in life. Like, honestly, I was like, if I can make $15 in a body shop, I'd be happy at 24 years old. 26, now I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I should buy a rental property for an investment. I bought a rental property. I bought another one. I bought another one. Now I'm working in a body shop. I'm making more money on the side in real estate than I am working 40 hours a week in a body shop. So now I'm like, I think I should start my own business. Because now I'm reading books. You ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? You like self-help books?
I love them, and I like audiobooks. I hate reading. Reading is one of my, I have like this reading comprehension issue. But no.
I think they call that ADHD.
Yeah, something like that. But it suits me in other areas. But no, I've always wanted, and I'm in that field right now where I'm trying to look for an investment property kind of thing.
Would you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Hell yeah.
I got one right there. You should take it.
I will.
Yeah, before you go.
Yeah.
You can have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For real.
No, I've been looking at condos at the lake, and I'm thinking same thing. I could buy I want to buy a condo, and not only will I have a place to go, but then I have
I got a guy coming on in a couple weeks that has short-term rentals.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in them. See, the problem with rentals, dude, they're not what people think. Like, I was like, oh, man, have you ever heard of Bigger Pockets, Burr method?
Just ran into a buddy on the trail I was running, and he's like, Deeper Pockets, or is it Bigger Pockets?
Bigger Pockets.
It's a podcast, right?
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, it is a podcast.
Yeah. He told me about it 3 days ago.
Bigger Pockets.
I've not had a chance to listen yet, but I intend to.
Yeah, awesome. That's what really got me into it.
And with my schedule, 7 on, 7 off, I got 7 days to manage a side hustle.
Yeah.
And I'm just now tapping into that market where, like,
you need to watch the podcast I had 2 weeks ago. Drew McCleskey.
Okay.
They get Brandon that works for Bigger Pockets, like one of the main guys there.
Yeah.
10,000 rental properties or something like that. Drew McCleskey, went and lived with Brandon in Maui for 8 months.
I saw your clip on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super cool.
Cool. I'll have to go back and
Bigger
look at
Pockets is it's called the Burr method. I'd recommend.
the Burr method.
Yeah.
Yep.
Burr method is like is like the way to go. 1% rule is like usually how I go. But here's the problem with rental properties. You buy a rental property.
Tenants and toilets.
Tenants, toilets, roofs, AC units, all that crap goes bad. And you buy a property because like this is like in theory, this is what it sounds like, right? You buy a property, $100,000. You're renting it out for $1,200 a month. Your mortgage is $1,000. You're making $200 off the top.
Yeah.
$200 times 12, $2,400 a year. That's great. But
until your roof goes bad.
Until your roof goes bad.
Yeah.
Or an AC unit goes bad.
Yeah.
And
now you're upside down.
Now you're upside down for the year. Yep. For the next 2 years, you're upside down on it. And you're like, okay, well, I'll just buy 2 properties. I'll cash flow.
Oh, double down, baby.
Yeah. Or 10 or 20 or 30. And the more you buy, the more you hope they don't break. But guess what? They're gonna break.
They do.
And there's gonna be people that get on drugs, that trash them. There's all this stuff is gonna happen. And I'm not saying they're bad, but
it's not.
They're not
passive income. That's the myth. Is the passive income? Well, no, it's actually a lot of work.
Yeah. I have an account that builds up for my rental properties, but I don't touch the rental account. I don't do anything from the rental account. My money that goes into my rental account just stacks, and it all goes to is repairs. And if I had spent any money out of it, it would be no. Nothing.
So for me,
it's a good investment.
I spent 10 years with a goal, which was flying EMS, right? Getting this job, flying EMS. Once I got that job, I'm just kind of on cruise control. Mm-hmm. Like just kind of reaping the benefits, enjoying a decent paycheck for the job that I do, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm reaching that point where I feel unfulfilled.
That's what I was going to say. It lacks fulfillment.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I've been now I haven't had a goal to reach for in a couple years. And now I'm thinking, okay, I kind of want a lake house.
Yeah.
But I can't just afford a lake house. Like I'm not balling that deep. So my lake house has to make
20% down on
but
it.
my lake house has to make me money.
Yeah.
Right? So I could rent it out for part of the time, and then when I want to block it out and go up there, I got a spot for my boat.
I think you could do that. And I think you
so.
should try.
I think that's where I'm going to start.
I think that's why I kind of was like, I wonder if short-term rentals. I got a guy coming on that's going to talk about short-term rentals. Mm-hmm. I think he has 24 of them now. I think that's the way to go, especially for like a situation like that. There's a guy locally, I know his name's Ryan Skinner. You know him maybe?
No.
He just bought, I don't think he owns a ton of rental properties, but he certainly has interest in it. He just he's talked about it for years. Like, I want to buy a place down in Florida. And I've even heard people say he needs to just slow down, build up his local wealth, and then buy one later in life. And he just had it in his mind. He was going to buy one. And I seen he just bought one. And he's going to I think he said he's putting it on Airbnb. And he gets to go down there and stay in it 1 week a year, and he gets to reap the benefits the rest of the time.
And that's what I'm after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be able to park my boat at the lake, and then when I want to go up there, block it out for myself and go enjoy the lake house.
And make money on it the rest of the time.
Can I use the restroom?
Yeah. Ariel, how long are we in this?
Yeah, I don't know how much longer you want to go.
About 2 hours.
Well, you want to wrap it up then?
Yeah, man.
We can wrap it. I know we could sit here and probably talk for an hour, 2 hours probably.
Of course.
But it is probably... Well, you're off tomorrow too, right?
I'm off. I got no bedtime.
I have if I didn't have, I have a funeral I got to be at.
Okay.
Tomorrow at 10 a.m. in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I probably should wrap it up.
Cool.
But thank you so much for coming out.
Dude, thanks for having me.
I do really appreciate it. It was a ton of fun. I love, anytime anyone comes out and just gets to have a couple of drinks with me, like those are my favorite podcasts.
Yeah.
Because people let loose, people talk a little more. It's just a little more enjoyable. But I enjoy anybody that comes out on the podcast. I think there's going to be some people that really enjoy it. Dude, there was a podcast the other day that, well, do you know Dan Coons?
Yeah, great friend of mine.
Okay, so Dan came out, and he's a barber now.
Yeah.
Well,
he was climbing freaking
power lines.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great guy.
Stories like that
awesome.
are so great. But there was somebody from my local community that seen the video, seen who he was, like in high school, wanted to become a barber, went and watched him do his thing, and now they're going to school to be a barber.
That's awesome.
So that's why, like, a lot of people are like, I'm not that interesting. And I'm like, let's just hear your story.
Sure.
Let's just tell your story, because you never know who you can impact, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to impact some people's lives.
I love it.
And so, I just like Logan West wanting to become a pilot. There's probably someone else that wants to become a pilot, or maybe he doesn't even know it, but now they listen to your story and they're like, yeah, I want to be.
And I hope so, because my journey wasn't easy. It was a hustle.
Yeah.
I hope I portrayed that as that. Like,
hey, I got hard work beats talent.
Dude, it was a hustle. It was not easy.
You gotta work hard.
And, once you arrive at that position that it's like standing on Barnes looking down at Steinberg's.
Yeah.
You're like, shit, I did it.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have to kind of recalibrate and figure out, okay, what's next?
What's my next goal?
Because right now I'm on cruise control and I can do this job and I like the job and blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of lose sight of that ambition you had as a young pilot. Like, I have this goal and I'm going to work and I'm going to get there. And then you get there and you're kind of like, I don't know what's
more
next.
about the journey.
Am I just going to stay here forever? Am I going to live here? Or am I going to, find a new fire to chase?
I totally understand, man. That's where the podcast came from. That's
Sure.
how my gym came about. Dude, I have a product that I'm starting. I haven't announced it, but I told my banker, because I'm really good friends with my banker. I told her when I bought the gym, I said, I'm not staying there. I said, I'm buying to get out of my 9 to 5, but I'm not staying there. And I got a product that I think is going to get me out of there. I'll show you it off the podcast.
Okay, cool.
But we'll let you go pee.
I wish if there's any pilots out there that are like up and coming and want any guidance, I would be happy to talk to anybody.
Reach out to them.
You can reach out to me.
Where can they find you? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Both my accounts are private, but I would be happy to speak to anybody. Instagram is PK599 is my handle. And I think
What's up with that?
it's an old motocross joke. Okay. We used to race with some guys that had some deep pockets, and so we became Poor Kids Motorsports. PK.
Oh, okay.
So PK 599.
PK.
PK 599.
Well, what's crazy is that I had on Ross's podcast, I shared a clip on YouTube, and there's a kid that does something similar like that. He lost a brother, but all the motocross videos he watches, he has to comment something like it's something just like that.
I bet I know him.
And he comments, and he's like, man, I just had to comment for my brother that passed away. And I was like, hey, man,
it wasn't Justin Suter.
I have no clue.
No,
it was a random video.
Well, I was never anything. Like I'm no pro. I'm not claiming to be anything I wasn't. But it was my passion, and I rode for a long time. So Instagram, the Poor Kid 599, PK 599.
Yeah, hit him up, you guys.
Sure. And then, just Zack Sida on Facebook, and I'll let you in if you see him. Shoot me a message, because I'm a pretty private guy.
Sure.
But I would love
You got a lot of cool stuff.
Man, I would love to help somebody that's coming up, or maybe somebody that's like in that 1,000 hour to 2,000 hour range, and they want to transition into EMS and just maybe need a reference or don't know how.
Reach out.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool,
I'd be happy to help anybody.
Yeah, definitely reach out, you guys. If you guys are still listening, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share.
Cheers, man.
Zach, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you came out. You got such a cool story. I hope we can get you back out sometime in the future.
I'll come out anytime you want.
Awesome. And then, thanks for checking the channel out, you guys. Peace.